G'day.
There you go.
How are we, guys? I'm so sorry. I tapped the countdown button again and I shut it down early. I'm so sorry.
I'm like, are we live? I'm like, just
No, we were live. That just happened, and I'm truly apologetic. So it's been a while since I've had one of those cock-ups, but because Dan worked his magic with the special intro, the countdown and intro worked together. Anyways, forget all that. Guys, we got a bunch of people joining us already. So just let me set it up, and we'll bring in our special guest. So as you guys are watching, will probably know, MUTAGENTS is a Monday night show. We've got a special Saturday night episode. Saturday night for us, Saturday morning for others in other parts of the world, other parts of the world. So, and that's for a very special reason, because we've got a guest joining us all the way from Louisiana in the US, and we're excited to bring him in. So let's say g'day to our special guest, Dave, from the Instagram, from the, I believe, YouTube as well, Dimension X Toys. G'day, Dave. Welcome.
Hey, good day. How you guys doing? Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to you. How are you, buddy?
Yes.
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Doing
very good.
That was so
thank you for coming to us such early.
I love the intro.
We try to keep it slick, and we've got a special guest, and I kind of cocked up the countdown to the intro, but whatever. We'll move on from that. Dave, we're very excited to have you joining us for the live stream tonight. Looking forward to sort of getting into some of your story as far as collecting and the incredible work that you do in the area of your large-scale customs and other creative stuff that you work on. But before we kind of shine a light on you and learn a little bit more about you, let's say g'day to those that are joining us in the chat. And there's a bunch of people. I feel like Johnny is always like leading the charge. He's in there super early. So g'day, Johnny.
Gets in a good 15, half an hour before everyone.
Fully. We got Scree. G'day, Scree.
What's going on, Scree? How are you, bud?
We got another man who's fond of a custom. We got the Retro Tinker joining us. G'day, Nate.
Oh, very cool.
How are you, bud?
We got this guy.
It's just me.
Deano's in two places at once. We got the Minikins guys. Hey, fellas. Who else? We got Jewel, as always, tuning in and supporting. Hey, Jewel. We've got a very supportive wife joining us. Hey, Monique.
Hey, Monique.
Shaneco. G'day, Shane.
Hello.
Thanks for tuning in, mate. Hope you're having a nice weekend so far. We've got Yeehaw. Hey, buddy.
Yeehaw.
Thanks for hanging out. We've got Damon. Hey,
Damon. Buddy.
We got Sean. G'day, Sean.
How you going, Sean?
Good evening.
And we've got a fan of the Saturday format. So, guys, I don't think we're going to be leaving Monday as like our regular post, but it's nice to know that if we mix it up on a Saturday, people are enjoying that as well.
That's it.
And we've got the Keep On boys joining us as well. Hey, Matt. Hey, Andy.
How are you, Matt?
Yeah. We've got Maddie. Hey, Maddie.
How you going, Maddie?
Hey, bud.
All righty. So that brings us up to date on the chat. We'll keep checking in with those guys. But yeah, excited to spend the next 90 minutes or so having a bit of a chinwag. Like I said, we've got our special guest, Dave. Much of tonight's live stream will be dedicated to Dave and his work and, having a chat about, Dave's experience collecting TMNT and obviously making some incredible large-scale custom work. But Dan's also got some sewer news for us. Obviously, San Diego Comic-Con was just a couple of weeks ago now, and there was so much in the way of TMNT releases. So Dan's got a round up of the latest TMNT reveals, and we'll offer our thoughts on those and have a bit of a chat, and that'll bring us home. But for now, let's have a bit of a chinwag about Dave. So Dan, I understand you got some questions prepared.
All right. So yeah, just to get us into the stream, get us all knowing what Dave's about and how he started off collecting toys, making toys, all that sort of stuff. I thought I'd think of top 5 questions. And so my first question would be, what were your top 3 toys in your childhood, Dave? Like, what would be the top 3 toy lines?
Oh, so I mean, I guess my earliest memory would be, the figure. Let me grab him.
That's the best way.
This panda figure
Hey, Mike,
wasn't even a turtle.
And a ton.
I mean, it's not one of the four brothers, anyways. This was my first
Yeah.
turtle.
Oh
I
wow!
believe one of my earliest memories. I was 4 years old. I was in the back of my mom's car, and I remember holding this figure, and I'm pretty sure I lost the gun in the seat of the car. I never did find it again.
Wow.
But anyways, that was one of my first memories, and from there it was just like, you know, birthdays and different Christmas, everything. You get all sorts of different things. Me and my cousins, we all had them, and then stone protectors. I'm trying to think of like a few other toy lines. Toxic Crusaders, I know I had at least one or two of, and you know how your box of toys at that time, everything was just kind of mixed together. I mean, we kind of separated turtles, but between me and my brothers, we probably had close to 200 something turtles, and the Technodrome, the sewer, everything. And I remember being in a department store with my mom. It was this would have been for my brother's birthday. I don't know which birthday it was, but I remember convincing her to buy the Technodrome for my brother. I was like,
wow.
I think it was $50, $50 US at the time or whatever. And I was like, you got to get this. He's going to love this. You got it. It was obviously for me, obviously.
Love it.
But we did
That's
did get my brother the Technodrome that day or whatever. And I remember just like thinking about that. And it was like, wow, this is wild to think about, like the amount of Playmates toys, like the impact it had on us when you go to that toy aisle and it just hits you and you saw everything. It was just like, I look for it now. You really can't find too many clips, but there's clips of just like the shelves were just packed with turtles. It was insane, you know?
Yeah.
That's
That's so cool that Panda Khan was like, I've never, majority of the time someone's had the original turtle or the original 10 that I've been speaking to other collectors in the community we know. But to have Panda Khan as your first one, that's a real unique one. But
yeah, that was the first one I remember. I mean that, and it wasn't even a turtle. And I think my first turtles were actually the storage shells. I never had the original 88 because I was born in 86. So I think, in fact, you know, like the ones that are there, I guess people are calling them grails now, but the black belt ones, black belt storage shells, you know. Anyways, I don't really have any of my original collection. It all went to cousins or charity. And I recollected most all this in 2015. But that one with, I think I had the Leonardo with the yellow clear weapons. I remember it. That was the black belt. That was the one I had. That was my first Leonardo.
Where's that cousin now?
I don't know, but as far as I mean, I'm sure they got tossed or thrown away or discarded, given to charity. Also, I mean, I remember even my cousins had given me a boatload of Motu. Also, like I had like the Masters of the Universe, like a big thing of it, and I think it was the Snake Mountain or whatever. You know, I had all that crap.
When I was doing a deep dive on your Instagram, I actually seen a picture of you and your cousin as kids. I didn't pull it up. I'm not going to pull it up or anything, but you had the Ventura Turtle on card with a Technodrome behind you, and I'm just like, those things on card now are worth a fortune. And then you got the Technodrome.
That's the craziest thing too. Honestly, those photos I found at my parents' lake house, and I was like looking through them, and I was like, how did these photos even make it here? Because most of my photos are usually in my parents' house in the basement, but somehow some box of pictures made it there, and I was looking through it, and I found literally like, there was like Legos scattered in the background of one of the photos, the Technodrome, you know, all that sort of stuff, and I remember just thinking, you know, this is like incredibly wild to look back and see this, because you're like hunched over in your bedroom, like playing with toys, you know, and it's such a strange thing to see like 30 years later, you know. It's like crazy.
So was that Panda Khan your choice? Like, did you choose that as your first figure? Like,
I don't remember, or somebody just got it for me for my birthday. I don't remember I have the memory of sitting in the backseat of the car and losing the little gun.
Yeah,
but I don't know exactly. And my one was the one with the full white face. You know, they have the shaded face or the.
But you knew it was turtles, or was it just a fun figure?
I think it was just a fun figure at the time, but I mean, obviously, I went back to those turtles. You know, every time I went to the store, I'd be looking at those. The card art is honestly my absolute favorite. In fact, that's why I'm collecting all these new ones that come out, just because they started using the original card back art. You know what I mean? Like, I think the most current wave is like Rat King / Mutagen Man.
The repros.
I never had, and I never
that's
had a lot of
awesome.
that original line that went with the like the cartoon style characters. As far as like
Toon Turtles.
Yeah.
But I think NECA did the whole thing now where they did everything from the cartoon, but I pretty much wanted any character that was ever originally in the cartoon. I feel like the cartoon really held, the most nostalgia for me as far as, like whatever characters. Obviously, a lot of the characters never looked like the specific design that they had in the cartoon versus what they sculpted, which is honestly probably for the best. But the sculptors, I've done a lot of research since then. You've got Scott Henze, you've got Varner Studios, you've got David Arshowski, and all these guys just did the most insane sculpt work. And I honestly think the best thing they did was just let the sculptors kind of have free reign on how they design these toys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
dude,
I love how they do that.
I know we're talking Turtles, obviously, on the Mutagents, but hey, Toxic Crusaders is almost like an extension of it. And that's one thing that's super interesting is like the Toxic Crusaders action figures are actually quite different to how the characters appeared in the short-lived Toxic Crusaders animated series. And it's like it's like the toy designers just had free reign to just make something really cool.
Yeah. I mean, they're some of the best figures. I would say Toxic Crusaders is an easy, second or a tie with Turtles for me. I love the sculpt work and the designs. They're awesome toys.
Yeah, it's just that playmate color, different mix of popping. I love that.
Well,
the vibrant colors.
Just say hi to Taylor.
Yeah.
How you going, buddy? Thanks for joining in.
How you going, mate?
G'day, Mike.
Hello. And Zazel. How you going, Zazel?
Hey,
I was actually, I was lucky enough, Dave, that most of my collection, about 60% of my collection, is my childhood collection. My dad just packed it all into a tub, put it down the shed for about 15, 17 years.
That's crazy. I specifically remember when I was 18, we were kind of going through our attic and just kind of getting rid of toys, and we had so many toys. I remember one of my cousins that still has them now. I think we had Beast Wars, the Transformers, a whole box of those. I was like, here you go. You want them? And like, I would just get rid of everything. I think the only thing I saved from my childhood was my Lego sets. And I don't know, for whatever reason, I guess because most of them were complete or I had them all in organized kind of sort of. And so we just kind of kept those, but everything else, G.I. Joes, all these other toys, they all just went to, I remember going to the attic and pulling them out. And I remember just thinking now, it's like, why couldn't they just stayed in that attic? Nothing else is in there. I would have this amazing time capsule probably with 10 to 20 grand worth of toys if I had it just thrown and given it all away. It's like, man, if I could go back in time and tell myself, I'd say, just leave all this in here, just lock this door and hide a key somewhere.
We all wish that.
While we're talking about Toxic Crusaders, Scotty, I loaded up a video if you want to pull it up. And because I want to know about this because I've been trying to do research on it. And this is a figure you sculpted, Dave, am I right?
Yes. Okay, so that I have all these concept art I got from David Arshowski. He worked with Scott Henze, which was Scott. I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you guys probably know about all the different sculptors, but Scott Henze was the sculptor for Anaglyph sculpture. David Arshowski worked for him, and David Arshowski was known for doing all the little buddies. So you have all the different, like all the little like wingnut screw loose. You had the little screw loose character. You had let me grab all the little buddies. Yeah, all the little sidekicks. Well, David Arshowski was like known for this, and for people that don't know, all the little characters.
Sergeant Bananas and
I love what you've done.
The one that came with Monty Moose, Bob the Beaver.
Oh, yep.
I love what he's done with him. He's done some with musical weapons. It's so good.
I think that one came with one of the Hero Turtles, and then they have a more common one was like the Kid Kangi that came with Walkabout.
That's our fella.
Yeah. But anyways, he was the sculptor for those, and I've got a bunch of artwork from one of, I think, his sons on Instagram, Sam Arshowski, and he was selling like the pizza face, like the prototype for the pizza face. Have you guys seen that?
Yeah.
But anyway, he was selling those, and his dad was, I think his dad sculpted the original pizza face, and he's got the one with the little underneath.
I made my own version of that, but it's so terrible compared to that one.
Hang on, let's see that up close.
I bought this one from his son.
Dude, that is so crazy.
And
it's so cool.
And I also said, I was like, well, is there anything else your dad sells? And he's like, well, we do prints of these zines, and they're like all these different concept artworks. I'll see if I can pull one up in a Google Drive. It'll take me a minute to get to them. But basically, it's all David Arshowski's sketches, and that was one of them. And it was in a book called, I think it was, he had a book just on sidekicks. He had a book on Toxic Crusader stuff, which he did a lot with, and then Turtles. And I remember going through it, and I found that one, and it said Psycho Bunny, pal to Major Disaster. And I was like, okay, well, and I was like, I really liked that specific sketch. But then I was like, that's Toxic Crusaders. So anyways, I sculpted that bunny that it was like a never-made sidekick for that character, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with all the Toxic Crusaders line, but that's the Major Disaster.
Yeah. I would have thought. I would have thought Major Disaster's buddy would be like a plant, because in the comics and in the cartoons, isn't Major Disaster like he's almost like can move with plants and stuff like that? Like,
yeah. That's, you got all the vegetation and stuff, but but
I would have thought his buddy would be like a Venus flytrap or something like that.
I remember I actually made a full little card back and everything for him, and I kind of made up like the little details in the story, but I said like, because all of the Toxic Crusaders, I think they had like whatever type of radiation they'd been exposed to that caused their mutation or whatever and all that. But you're right. I mean, it probably should have been something to do with plants or something, you know.
But yeah, Toxic Crusaders are so cool. Like the creativity and the detail that went into those figures. Neon colors, glow in the dark.
All, like everyone came with like the little glow in the dark accessories in the little bag, and they're fun toys.
That's one thing I love doing too, is looking at the original sketch art. And I remember when I bought my Hotspot figure, it had the lumps on its top of its head, and I didn't know what it was for. But then I found the original sketch art online, and it's supposed to be, his helmet's supposed to be a dog bowl, so it's actually kibble. If you look
that's another thing. That's another good point to bring up. It's just like the amount of details that might not have even gotten painted on the original figures too. And you go look at them. I did a giant Muckman, was one of the first giant ones that I made. I remember like when I was painting it, I was like, wow, there's so many different bugs and creatures that aren't painted. And you go add the detail, and you're like, wow, these sculptors just like added everything under the sun, everything but the kitchen sink on the figure. Like, it's crazy.
And the weapons, like Muckman's gun is like got cans of dog food and soup and all sorts of crazy stuff.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So it's cool to look at some of that original sketch art too when you are doing your customs, because you can add the things that they didn't add, and obviously just make them look like they were meant to look like, because there is things that didn't get obviously through when they made the figure. So you can get some cool stuff in your customs by doing that.
For sure.
Yeah, I listened to an interview with, I think it was either Scott Henze or David Arshowski, one of the two. I listened to both their interviews, but one of them was talking about like how even the paint apps, they were only given so many. Playmates would obviously, our production would be like, nope, you can only have 7 or 10 paint apps, you know, because that's going to be a production cost issue. So a lot of times the decos they had picked with all these different colors wouldn't get used, you know, and you had to just skimp it down to whatever was cost efficient.
100%. We'll pull another one of your jobs up that you've done. Scotty will play it for us. So this is a giant
Leatherhead. I no longer have him. I actually sold him to a guy at Designer Con. This was my only time doing a convention. A friend of mine, Epoxy Crusader from Mexico City, we met up and we split a booth in California. And me, him, and one other guy, we all split a booth, Gorehounds in California. He was actually local there, and we like set up, and that was actually the only convention that I did. And a guy came up and he's like, "This is my favorite figure of all time," and he had to buy it. And I was like, "All right." Yeah, and I was shocked because I had some sticker shock on some of those big ones that I brought, because I was like, well, I need to pay for this trip some kind of way. The plane fare and the staying in the Airbnb and the booth fee was like $1,000, I think, for a 10x10.
Oh,
So that was an expensive convention to do. And I was like, yeah, I have to pay for my trip somehow. And they do pay me, good money for it. So I was like, all right, I'll let it go.
Did the jaw articulate on it? Or
what's that?
Did you make the jaw articulate, or is it solid?
No, it articulates. In fact,
it
my
does
buddy,
articulate. There
before
we go.
I actually got it, scanner, my buddy, the jaw does articulate. I think there might have been another video I posted with me moving its jaw back and forth. But
That's awesome.
My buddy in Iowa that has a scanner, Sean, he actually scanned this for me, and I had him break off his head when he scanned it. I said, scan me it in 2 parts, so that way I can easily go back in and add the articulation, little nubs for the head.
Can I just ask, and I don't know if this is one of Dan's questions, but like where did this start for? Like for the chat and myself, where did making
it was actually I was gonna ask, what was your inspiration?
So this sort of starts, I guess you could say, in 2015, as far as my interest back in turtles and all that. I remember, I think my brother bought me a reissue Leonardo, just like an 88. And the one, obviously I never had that one even. And he bought it for me. And I remember being like, I think I was working at the time and I had a ladder injury at work. And I remember I was at home kind of on bed rest, and I went on eBay and I was bored and I just started buying a bunch of these lots because I was like, wow, this stuff's actually not that expensive. At that point, you could still buy used turtle lots for like a huge lot of them for like $30-$50.
Wow.
So I was buying lots, and then I was like buying individual figures that complete, or I was getting on that TMNT archive website trying to complete them all, like looking to see what accessories they had and all this and that. And anyways, that sort of took off, and I started an Instagram back then. I remember I just started with just a few photos of my collection at the time. And anything that I found that I thought was interesting, I took pictures of, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I get on Instagram a lot because it's the pandemic and everybody's kind of stuck. We're not going out as much, whatever. I'm on Instagram a lot more, and I'm looking at all these different things people are making. And I think I saw an original Scratch the Cat that somebody had 3D printed. You could see the layer lines. It was clearly printed with an FDM printer. It wasn't like super high quality, but I was like, you know what? I could print my own $1,000 figure if I just had this printer. And I was like, I was looking up 3D printers, and I think the one I was looking at was like an Ender 3, and it was like $230 USD, which honestly at the time I probably shouldn't have spent it on a printer, but I was like, you know what, I'm bored, I'm at home, I'm not going out drinking, I'm not doing anything like that, I have this money I can allocate to this. So I bought this first printer, and I find that file for that Scratch the Cat, and I print it. And I didn't realize at the time it was a digital recreation. The very first Scratch the Cat file that was on Cults 3D or Sketchfab or all these other websites was actually a digital recreation by this one guy. So I printed that one, and it came out like I don't know, like probably about 2-3 inches taller than the Scratch the Cat should have been. And I was like, well, something's not right with that. And my friend's like, that's a digital recreation, that's not an original file, blah blah blah. I was like, okay. But anyways, I was like, does anybody want to see this printed big? So I went ahead and just put a poll out, and I was like, because this is my first 3D printer. I've never really let this thing go more than a few hours. It might have taken a few hours to print an arm at that time or a head. And I don't know, somehow I got the nerve up, and more people are putting these files on Cults 3D. I found the Foot Soldier one, and I was like, I think that was the first one I did big. I was like, let's just, because that would fit in well with all the vintage other toys. So I just went ahead and crossed my fingers and let that one go overnight. And I was like, is my cat going to come in here and like knock this thing loose, or is it going to go haywire and be spaghetti? Because I've seen like the nightmare photos of people's 3D printers with like spaghetti all over the place. And I was like, so anyways, it worked out, and I just kept going, and it was like, 24 hours to print this torso, or 24, it took a long time. It was like a week of printing to print a giant figure. And at that point, I didn't know about, changing my infill settings or any of that. I was just using stock 3D printing settings. So it's like, it would take like a week to print one of these things. And it just kind of snowballed from there. The positive response online, and I was like, this is going to be big if people keep, sharing this and all this type of stuff. Because I don't think I was the very first person, but I had to have been close to the very first person to do this as far as the giant turtles. 3D printed, because I'd seen a custom by a guy that kind of did like some epoxy putty on top of one of the original giant figures,
Yeah.
But at the time, there really wasn't anybody doing it that I remember. I mean, there was a guy making files, but as far as people blowing them up and making them giant, I hadn't really seen any of it at the time.
Yeah.
So I was like, I got to get ahead of the curve here, and I got to keep making these and pumping them out. And yeah, pretty soon you looked in these groups and everybody was making giant figures. So I was like, all right, word's out. And I was just telling people, I don't have time to do this for you. Go get a printer. These are the files. Do it yourself, like that sort of thing. There's nothing special what I'm doing here. As long as you can operate a 3D printer, you can do this yourself.
So is that? We'll just say hi to Dustin.
Hey, Dustin. Thanks for saying good day.
Appreciate that. But is that you painting them as well? Are you doing all that detail? Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So my first figures, honestly, I started with like a few customs. I think they were like the wrestling, like the ones they're releasing now. NECA just released the Archie wrestling turtles. I think the very first set I did were the Archie turtles, and I think I did like a Scrag figure before anybody really cared about Scrag. I think NECA put them out with that Loot Crate. Anyways, I did like a custom Scrag, and I got my hands wet with like that, but I was honestly pretty terrible at painting at first. But I was like, it was really because my hands kind of shake a little too much. So when I moved up the scale a little bit, it was easier to hold a tight line, or you know what I mean, like a giant figure. It's much easier to paint.
Yeah, and you use a lot of epoxy resin, don't you? So you don't have to sand as much. I think I have seen you where you.
Yeah. So I would do actually I don't have it in here anymore. I think I took it out to my little shed, but I have it's just like the stuff you get at Lowe's or like Home Depot, like a home center, where you get it was like a bar coat that you would use for. I used to work in the restaurants. We used that crap on everything, like tables, bar tops. Just a 2-part epoxy, and I saw that stuff specifically for 3D printing, but it was like an exorbitant amount of money for just a tiny little bit. So you could buy a gallon kit of this for I think $70 USD, and a gallon would last me forever. Like I don't think I've even gone through a gallon on the giant figures I've made. I mean, you might use like a little bit in a cup, and you mix it up, the 2 parts, and you just brush it on with like a I don't know, just like a little throwaway brush, because you're not getting that stuff off.
No, but it makes it so much easier, because sanding is probably the worst part about 3D printing in my eyes.
Well, and that's the one thing I looked at, with the PLA, with the FDM printers, everybody knows the layer lines are quite, prominent or noticeable. So that was the first thing I knew I had to get rid of, and I was like, sanding wasn't going to work. You try sanding PLA, it gets hot, it just starts to melt, it crumbs up. It's not really
horrible.
Way easier just to coat it with something. I've even seen guys now doing the UV cure resin. They'll take a UV light, they'll dump a little bit on, they'll UV cure it, and that's that's honestly faster than what I'm doing, because I have to wait 24 hours for the barcode stuff to dry and harden up.
I've tried a bit of that. I'm just going to say Dan's our resident 3D printing guy who likes to tool around it.
I saw he just posted this is a little scratch the cat.
Yeah. That's probably been my first project. I am working on a Universal Giant Monsters at the moment, so that's probably my next one. But
I can show.
I do want to get
creations. If you want.
He's got a scratch there.
So Dan actually Dan gifted me a is that resin, or I see that?
No, so that's FDM.
Cool stuff just goes over my head.
That's resin.
So he gifted me my scratch, because I'm never going to afford the real one. But the cool thing I like that he put these little magnets in the arms here.
Oh, I did the same thing with mine.
I learned it from Dimension.
There you go.
That's good.
So everybody knows that does 3D printing.
Let's see yours, Dave.
Oh, it's the same. I did the little magnets. Actually printed the file just as it came on Cults 3D, which was Maltita Yoko was one of the first guys on Cults 3D to really put up a lot of these files, and I started sharing his page. As far as I would like to say, I'm responsible for a lot of his sales, because like I would always tag him whenever I would first start doing these, and then like you saw all the guys start in the customizer groups and everything would start to get word that these were all on there, and he would. But he was the first one to put up the actual Scratch the Cat scan, Maltita Yoko. I think he's also set up a Facebook group.
Really good price.
Now, this was originally when he first put it up, it was $20-something, I believe.
Oh,
but
wow.
I think he did lower it now that the file's out and everywhere. I know that more and more people have this, but now I think he's got it down for like $3 or something, or $2, or he lowered it quite a bit.
But
But
it's definitely
trying to
he
find.
does some really cool 3D files. He's got some good TMNT stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was actually using a lot. My friend Sean would actually, the Leatherhead, there wasn't a file for that one at the time. He scanned that one for me, and I would always be asking him to scan me certain stuff that wasn't on there, because I was like, well, I said, everybody's making this one or that one. I said, I want one that nobody has, so I would have him, scan stuff for me. And it was like an impossible feat at first to find people that had decent 3D scanners. And then I happened to find a guy, Sean, next Sunday ad, that happened to have a huge Turtles collection and the right scanner. Like that was like an unbeatable combination. And yeah, he was instrumental in having like some of the first ones that like nobody else had, or stuff like that. Because I think the guy, Maltita Yoko, his name is German Fabio Gonzalez or something. He's on some of the Facebook customizer groups, and he also I think he's in Argentina. I can't remember which country, but yeah, he's been getting a hold of them, and there's a huge Turtles community in South America. Like, it's huge. Yeah. I'm always like shocked. If you ever go look at like your page analytics, that's like a huge amount of people that follow Turtle people are, all these South American guys. Like they're like huge into Turtles.
Well, some of the customizers are like from over there, and there's some really good ones, like in your Making a Mutant and that. Like, you're spreading out the globe with a lot of those things now. So
yeah, and that's another thing.
How many countries people are doing customs, and a lot of them are turtle based, which is very cool. I love it.
I think. Oh, go ahead.
No, sorry. That last comment you had, Scotty. I think the retro Tinkers channel would explode if he started 3D printing on his.
Fully, I agree. It's interesting because with some of Nate's custom work, like he's done like resin casting and stuff like that. Like it's almost like Nate skipped 3D printing and just went straight to like actual resin pouring and casting, resin to make customs, which is crazy. So yeah, I'd love to see Nate maybe get like a resin 3D printer and start pumping out some cool stuff.
That'd be insane. That'd be good stuff.
Do it,
Nate. So we'll move on to another one of your talk. Yeah, go talk, dude.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, a lot of the guys, when we be looking through these Instagram, like checking hashtags or bootleg toys or custom toys, like you'd see a lot of these guys do the hand pouring of the resin. I would say that's kind of the original as far as what people were doing at the time, because like I think they had a guy, I think his name was Sucklord or something. He's out of New York City, and he was doing just like hand poured resin stuff back. He claims to be the first guy ever, but it's like I doubt that. I said I doubt these toy makers hadn't been like playing around with custom stuff at the time, but he was the first quote unquote non-production guy to be like making bootlegs of Star Wars figures or stuff like that. And like that's what a lot of these guys in these custom communities are doing, was the resin pouring. And in fact, they kind of turned their nose up to the 3D stuff a lot in the beginning, at least. I remember like showing stuff or tagging people that were into the resin pouring, and they'd be like, well, that's cheating. You have a 3D printer. It's like, you're still sculpting it from scratch. Like you have like, you're obviously using like a digital iPad or like a ZBrush or something to make it in. But I mean, it's still like handmade in my eyes, I mean, it's not like you're, but now they have the AI stuff. With the AI stuff, it looks like you can just push a button and say, create awesome toy.
Yeah.
So, Dave, the way you talk about it and all that, like, do you have a background in sort of this design artistic world, or is this just you've just learned it?
No, pandemic. I just kind of went face first, tried different things, and I had such a drive to figure out how to make these figures. In fact, I tried almost every different app you could scan something with before there was ever any good scanners. I mean, I had the ones that you like, these really crappy apps on your phone where you'd be like walking around it trying to take pictures of the angle to do the photogrammetry and all that sort of stuff. I researched every corner to try and figure out how to like do this myself without being reliant on people with these scanners. Because I mean, like I'd be heckling my friend, "Hey, can you scan me this? Hey, can you scan me that?" And he'd be like, obviously he has stuff going on. He has a family. He has other things. Like he can't always just be scanning stuff for me. But I remember I paid him $50 to scan the Krang for me originally, the giant Krang. I actually had the first giant Krang file before anywhere on the internet, but I never finished. I started it during the pandemic. I printed out the head, like huge. It took like 24 hours to print his head. I remember that. And I had another friend at that point. I didn't know anything about 3D modeling. My friend in Mexico City, Epoxy Crusader, he was helping me slice this thing up in Mesh Mixer, which is a free program you can use. And he was adding the little pins and making it so you could articulate it. And at that point, I didn't know anything about 3D stuff. I mean, I just sort of, I remember I kept looking for different apps and stuff. And the first one I found was Forger on the iPad. And I splurged and bought an iPad. And that was the first big spending I did on this hobby, really, other than the 3D printer. Yeah. And, you know, there's different apps. I think Forger was the closest one at the time to ZBrush on the iPad. And then, but I just liked how intuitive it was, how it seemed like you could just take your pencil and just sort of take away or add or pull or all that sort of stuff. And I can show you some of these apps, but anyways, the one that became like top app was called Nomad. And that one is now like, the guys made like an insane amount of like updates to this program. You can see this. I'm trying to.
You did end up doing it.
Rock.
Wow.
I'm roughing out his body. It's not finished, but that's like the current project I've been working on, was that rock steady that Scott Hensey originally did for the, based on the Scott Hensey concept art. No, I think it was the Mirage concept art. You know that I think it was Peter Laird that originally did this sketch in the Playmates meeting.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what that was based on, because he's got the machine gun pose and everything. Yeah, but anyways, I've heard that only like 2 or 3 of that thing exist. And there's another guy in South America, Rotten Totem Toys. He actually made this same Rocksteady. He like sculpted everything, made it in ZBrush, and produced like the whole thing. This guy's, I don't know if you follow his page, Rotten Totem Toys, but he's got crazy customs, and he's even done injection molding and stuff. Like I've seen his machines before the Craftsman ever did it, you know, like there's different guys that have done their own injection molding machines, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be definitely an easier process, but it's a hard setup, the injection molding. But once you got it done, just printed sort of thing, you know.
I mean, I think there's definitely a lot to all that. I don't know too much about it, but I mean, as far as like the, you know, venting and the sprues and having the right, you know, having the mold set up properly so it'll inject right, all that type of stuff.
100%. Making the molds aren't cheap either for them, but it's good stuff.
Yeah, I think I've seen some guys do a process with electrolysis where they'll take and, you know, they'll paint it with some sort of metal paint. Like I've seen a guy do this with resin prints too. They'll paint it with some sort of metal paint, like or they'll take like a graphite, mix it in paint, spray it on, then they'll take they'll use electrolysis to pull a metal onto it, like copper or another metal, and make a mold that way for like soft vinyl or figures like that. I don't know if you watch, and there's another guy that just does electroplating to make 3D prints like metallic, like just like you know, you can do like the Mandalorian helmet with like pure shine and perfection, you know. Like I can't remember the name of that guy's account, but he's got some crazy cool stuff with electroplating 3D prints.
Yeah, that'd be definitely cool to use. There's so many different techniques you can do in making the custom toys, and it's just watching you and seeing some of the things you've done over the year I've been following you. It's actually like with the magnets in the arms. I was like, one arm, like the peg hole's a bit loose, so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna drill the magnets after seeing one of your custom.
That's pretty common in the. That's pretty common in the customizer world. In fact, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Hemo Adventures in Spain.
Yeah.
In fact, let me pull down one of his to show.
While Dave grabs that, just a public service announcement from my side. My dog sounds like a lawnmower right now. She's snoring so hard. So I hope my mic is doing its job, but I apologize if it's not.
Thought that was
this figure is amazing.
This was my absolute favorite that he did.
Hey, brother.
This
my little
Beetlejuice.
Sorry, Dave. Go again, mate.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
You're good. Sorry. I see the case this thing's in is really going to make it hard to show. So let me take it out of the case.
I remember
I love
seeing
this
this
figure.
was wicked.
He knocked it out of the park with this figure. That's
Oh,
amazing.
That is so cool.
Let me
Like
see here.
card
I think
art,
his
yeah.
head. I think his head even comes off. But yeah, he does magnets. In fact, his arm fell off here. Oh, yeah, the magnets.
Oh, it's the collector-friendly packaging. I thought you were ripping it off card back just then. I'm like, wow, what's going on?
No. Yeah, Hemo's been at this game for a while. He's one of the
He's a
first
pro.
ones I remember following. Yeah, he's definitely got some crazy stuff. And he's moved over to digital. He first did all resin casting and kind of like epoxy sculpt and molds and stuff.
Oh, wow.
The head that comes out underneath, that's what sold that figure to me. It's got the sculpt of the storage shell raft, which is honestly like my favorite sculpt for one of my favorite sculpts for the turtles, hands down.
100%.
That is so cool.
With some of the movement of the vintage, like the real vintage turtles, I wish they had magnets these days.
Oh yeah, big time. Big time.
Yeah, you got to use the little neodymium. You can't use cheap magnets because they got to really. You want them to really clack together, you know.
Yeah, true.
The Hemo customs that are, or his figures that are like. Well, I mean, I love so many of his figures. In fact, we did a Halloween episode where we looked at a lot of really cool like TMNT horror crossovers, and a lot of them were the Ehimo Adventures, figures. And I love his like Skeleton Warriors turtles sort of mashup.
Oh yeah, they're so good.
They're so cool.
They're so good.
Cool.
I don't know if it was him, but did he do the Wolverine? That's been.
I think that's
the foot toys was the sculptor for the Wolverine. You're talking about the most recent one that's been posted. Yeah, Collector Dibs, he's been in the game a long time also as far as doing the customs, and he started off, I think he mostly did resin casting and stuff like that with silicone and pouring resin and making customs that way. But the foot toys is two guys in Portugal, Bruno and Daniel, and they're like next level as far as custom work. Like you look at their work and it looks like it was made by something better than Playmates, honestly. Like their work is just impeccable.
Is it they just done the newest the Hulk one they did? Is that one of the newest things?
That's the foot also. Go back and look at all their stuff.
Released. It's
they're next level. Their paint work, everything, like those guys are next level.
100%. While we're talking about actually looking like it should have been released, do you want to just pull up the next video, Scott?
Yep. Here we go.
Oh.
So Nelson Muntz is a foot soldier.
Oh wow, that is so cool.
So was this part of I might correct me if I'm wrong, was this part of the Sewer Showdown that you do where you get a community together?
That was my first time doing like a collaborative art show, and no, that wasn't mine for that. But I did the giant crane for that. I did a bunch of things actually. I did like a Donatello like dunking. Or no, he was in that. Maybe I think all my Simpsons ones were in that. Yeah, but this is after I put him on a card. I think my original photo was Mr. Burns as Shredder. Bart, I think I just broke the other day. I got him up here.
Oh, spewing.
I think I just broke his. I think I dropped him on the floor and his leg broke off.
I knew Shane would be.
I know Shane
would be all over this. He loves it.
I recently added.
Hang on, let's
just the card art.
Oh, the leg broke. Oh.
No.
Yeah, I dropped him off the shelf the other day.
Just put a magnet on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it could be glued back, but yeah, I think I actually did have a peg, but I think it broke.
Unlucky.
But yeah, the Nelson, these are all based on those. I think the original guy that did the Bart was, he was actually a guy in the UK. Sonic, I think, was the guy that originally did like the bootleg Bart. I did like some different modifications. I changed his facial expression and added like the slingshot and the Butterfinger and the spray can in the back there, like just little details. I wanted to change it up a little bit, but the original guy was in the UK. Sonic Ute, he did the original Bart bootleg with the turtle stuff, and then the Nelson or whatever was all. These are all based off those you know, the 90s Mattel Simpsons figures.
Yeah, I love those.
Yeah.
I love those Mattel Simpsons figures. Like they were the first Simpsons figures, weren't they?
Yeah,
That's so cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were. Or if not, they were like the Burger King toys or stuff like that you could get. But yeah, this was kind of what he was obviously based on. And then I just sort of digitally sculpted on his, you know, foot suit in Nomad.
that's sick. Do you
So
do?
cool,
I love the artwork. Like, is the card back as well?
Oh, the card back art. This was all by Al Jedi Knight is in Chile. Yeah. He's the artist I use for most of my turtle stuff, and yeah, he just kills it with anything like retro turtle style. In fact, I'll pull down another piece of artwork that he did. Show it to you.
Do you do the back of it as well? Do you do like a?
No, the back doesn't have anything. I should have done a back. That's just a blank back. I think that's actually a cereal box.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh
wow.
That's what our, you know, that's like kind of like the bootleg toy thing or whatever. It's just to take the spray adhesive and spray it on a cereal box and then slap your paper onto that. This is another one he did for me. Just like a sign with like I had him do Donatello with like 3D printing a Krang.
Dude, that is so
cool. I think
he's a killer artist, and he does everything in that card back style, like that vintage card back style. So he's definitely the artist I love to use.
Yeah, it does unbelievable.
That's awesome, man. I just want to go back to a comment that Nate made, and I couldn't agree with this more. Like, you know, we were talking about, you know, maybe people that do, you know, that really focus on the hand poured resin, saying, oh, you know, 3D printing's cheating or whatever. Like, there really is no cheating here. I mean, you could give me all the tools. You could give me like the highest spec equipment, and I wouldn't have a clue what to do with it. You know what I mean? So, regardless of what tools you're using for both sculpting, you know, through to actually printing and then processing and painting, I'm in awe of some of the stuff you do, man.
It's pretty unbelievable.
My level of custom, Dave, was painting the undercover Don with just coloring in their colors to make them like Raphael.
Yeah. Oh, but I mean, that's where everybody starts at, though. You know, everybody starts with just, you know, repainting something or very good.
I guess.
But I mean, that's where everybody starts with customs. Like everybody starts with just repainting something. That's where you kind of get the itch, and then you're like, oh, maybe I could tear this figure apart and add something to it, or make something out of epoxy and stick it on there like a hat or something. And that's how you start with customizing, and then from there you just kind of get the itch to want to keep making different things.
Well, there was a comment earlier. The scratch Dan actually made me a glow in the dark scratch as well. So I think that was 3D printed, wasn't it? That was just
it's just glow in the dark filament.
Yeah, that thing's sick. So it's
I love my glow in the dark.
Be very careful with it.
I haven't had much luck with the 3D print resin, the glow in the dark resin. In fact, I never bought it because it was so expensive. But the filament isn't too expensive if it's FDM.
I recently bought the blue, the red, and the green 3D filament too, and that actually turns out really well. Looks pretty good. But I haven't got a resin printer yet. I do want to get into it. It's just it seems messy. It really does.
It is. Resin printers, I mean, for people that don't know the process, I mean, you have like this vat of resin in the bottom, and you have this build plate that comes up and down and dips into this plate. Underneath of the vat is this UV light that's going to cure a different amount of resin each time as it dips in. It'll cure a layer, then bring it up, and it kind of pulls it away from the bottom of the vat, and then it brings it back down, and it builds it all upside down. And when you're done, you got all this resin dripping on everything, and you gotta like pull it out and clean it, stick it in some alcohol, or if it's water based, I guess you can use water. But most resins require like 99% IPA to clean them. And then from there, you're gonna put it in. You're either gonna leave it out in the sun, which I used to do, or you can get this UV curing machine that'll cure it in like 5 minutes. You know, you stick it in this thing that rotates it and cures it. But I said before then, it was like, you just left it out in the sun for like 3 hours, and sometimes it seemed like it didn't work right, or it was too brittle, or it still seemed uncured. So I don't know. But as far as like printing with resin, it's definitely a lot more to it, anyways, with more challenging
and doing giant figures.
FDM can throw you figures. FDM can give you problems too with failed prints or things not working right. So anything with 3D printing, you got to have patience.
Yeah,
But with the
100%.
FDM, like when you 3D print with a filament printer, do you have to do the wash and curing process, or no? Like straight off the printer, it's good to go. Just sand it, and you're off and running.
Yeah, so FDM is just melting plastic. It's taking it all through a hot end, and it's just melting a filament into whatever shape as it goes around and prints on the bed. It'll print it out 0.2 millimeters at a time, bringing it up like one little layer at a time. But like I said, with 0.2 millimeter layers, you still notice them, and you can
that's where you get resin, the print line.
That's the benefit of resin. Yeah, that's where you get print lines. I'm just gonna see if I have something 3D.
And so with resin, you don't get print lines at all.
You still get
you do, but they're so minuscule. Like here's the resin print here. This was actually something of David Arshowski's too. This little in fact, this has been primed, but you can see there's almost no layer lines on it. Let me see if I can back it up where you can actually see it. But it's pretty smooth. I'm trying to see if I have anything else. And this is FDM. If you look really, really close, probably not going to see it, but this is a Toxie head.
Oh, wow.
This is actually glow. This is actually glow in the dark. But yeah. And when you increase the scale, it doesn't look as bad, like as far as like once you put a little coating on it and things like that. But this actually does have layers. You see it in person, you'd see the little.
You gonna make that eye pop out?
No, it's all one piece.
Projectile eye
head is hollow. I used to take a black light bulb and stick it in there, and then it would really glow.
That's cool.
So yeah, we'll pull up another one of your customs. So and check, this one's got a cool little quirk to it. I love it.
Oh, okay. The Ace Duck. Oh yeah, this was actually one of the few ones I did magnets because
flipping the bird.
Yeah,
even
was a commission.
Awesome. But that was a
for a guy.
Oh, was it? Wow. Because what was crazy about that is the arms. You actually did the original sort of way they were.
Yeah, that was an engineering feat for me. When I first looked at it, because I was intimidated. I said, because the guy's like, well, I think he only paid me to do the standard pegs, like the classic files you get on Cults 3D. I'll just have those simple pegs, and the pegs work all right for FDM, and that's mostly what I use. But in this particular one, I was like, well, I want the hands to be able to be changed out quicker because I just wanted to make him like super satisfied because I think this was my first commission, and I charged I think 500 USD to make this for the guy, and I was like. Yeah, and it's a lot of work that goes into it, but I was like, I wanted him to be extra happy. The first Giants I did, I raffled, and I was like, if somebody wins this for $10, they're not going to care if it's not absolutely perfect. But I said, this was my first time this guy paid me himself, no raffle. It was just paid me 500 to make it for him. I was like, I want it to be absolutely perfect. So I changed the hands so they were magnet clickable, and then the arm joints were actually designed to be just like the original Ace Duck, where he had the dual swivel.
What an interesting figure for someone to pay that much money for in a giant, like.
Yeah, and that, I mean, honestly, I honestly say no most of the time when people ask me to do commissions, just because I don't really have the time, most of the time. I mean, every once in a while I'll be like, if you're a patient person and you're willing to wait months for me to make it, sure, I'll do it. But I mean, most people, I just say no. I mean, most of the time. But I said, if it's a figure I haven't done and I'm somewhat interested in doing the character, then I'll be more inclined to say yes and want to do it. But yeah, the Ace Duck, my brother always loved that figure, with like the hat and the gun, and he said he didn't need the wings, which I always thought the wings were lame. Honestly, the character looks way better with just the gun and the hat. And
I was gonna say you did the pistol. You did the pistol. Did you do the other weapons? And does the hat come off?
Yeah, the hat comes off. It has a peg in it, but he didn't. It was a cost thing. He didn't want to. I said, I'll do if you want all the other accessories. $50 for the grenade, or another $100 for the belt and the grenades. He's like, I don't need it. I said, all right. Yeah, I said, because the belt would have been a challenge. For one, you would have had to use some sort of flexible filament, which is obviously a pain in the ass to print with. Any kind of PETG or any kind of flexible filament is a pain to print. Unless you have like a full-blown enclosure and a good setup, which I don't. Yeah, you can print flexible stuff.
So could you, like in using that sort of method, if you had it, could you do like an upscaled movie stars figure with a similar sort of pliability, or you're not going to be able to print something that's that rubbery?
You technically could if you had the right setup. I would recommend nowadays if I was going to get another filament printer today and I had no budget, I would probably get one of the Bamboo Labs X1 carbons. It's like a fully enclosed setup. Your filament stays enclosed. The whole box is enclosed, because some of these filaments have a smell to them too. Like you print with ABS or you print with some of these other smell. But PLA honestly has no real bad smell at all. Most people print with FDM printers. I print with my FDM printers right in my living room. I mean, but PLA doesn't have a bad smell to it.
ABS.
Like, I don't know what it is. Yeah, I wouldn't print ABS inside my house. You know what I mean? Like that sort of stuff. Yeah. But yeah, you can print flexible stuff, but it does require, you keep your filament dehumidified, and you might want like a direct drive extruder as opposed to a stock extruder. A stock extruder is going to be just like some gears that are pushing, it's going to be like, just like, I don't know how to explain the difference between a direct drive and just like a classic stock, but basically direct drive is going to push the filament out and have better control over pulling it in and out.
Yeah,
so you'd want a slightly upgraded printer to do stuff like flexible stuff.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I know you got the knuckle boom behind you.
Yeah.
Does anyone ever ask you to like create a vintage vehicle in giant size to fit the giants? So we're talking.
No, I haven't. I haven't done a vehicle yet, but since I have this scanner, you can't see it because it's right next to the computer here, but I have this 3D scanner right now. I'm doing some promotion work for Shining 3D, which is the same scanner I always wanted. I reached out to him and I was like, hey, can I, showed him my Instagram and showed him this and that, and tried to really talk myself up, that I can, I could bring you some sales. And yeah, they let me borrow this scanner for, I think, 3 months. And I've just been scanning like every figure I can find, like any vintage toy, everything. Yeah, nice, but I did scan a foot ski. So I was like, that might be the first one.
Nice. That'd be cool.
And my buddy did actually. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no. I want you to continue where you're going with this, but it is funny Deano brings that up, because, one thing that I've thought about, especially, in preparation to have you on is, and listen, maybe this is just outside of the realms of possibility, but, one of my favorite toys, the toy that I always wanted as a kid but never got, one of the favorite things I have in my collection now is like the vintage Technodrome. And the only, my only fault of that is like, it's a little bit undersized relative to how to the scale in the cartoon. And you probably know where I'm going here. Like, would it be theoretically possible to do like maybe like a 3x scale Technodrome that's like represents the same scale to the actual vintage figures as it did in the cartoon?
Yeah. It's been on my list for a long time, but I was thinking it wouldn't be feasible with 3D printing unless I owned like an Elegoo Orange Storm Giga. They just came out with this like massive fucking FDM printer. Elegoo just came out with it. It's called the Orange Storm Giga. My friend in Kentucky, he actually got one pre-ordered. I was like, or the Kickstarter, whatever the hell they had. And if I had the right printer, yeah. But I remember I was on a podcast. It was like the Turtle Tracks podcast. This was years ago. And I remember I told the host there, I was like, I really want to do a giant Technodrome, like 4 or 5 feet. Like something like that really fits, like, like the episode where the neutrinos bust out of the Technodrome. I said, it's got to be that big that I can take a foot cruiser and come out that hole and it'll be the right size and everything like that. And anyways, I think at the time I told him, I was like, well, I think you can get a giant beach ball on Amazon for like $20 or something. It was like a 4 foot or 5 foot beach ball. But I was like, that's how I would probably do it. I would probably get a 4 foot beach ball. I would coat it in epoxy resin and maybe like some newspaper or whatever the hell I had to use to create some structure. And then I would 3D print all of the details that go on it, like the different little enclaves and the little, jot outs of mechanical, the surface of it. Yeah. I would print out that type of stuff and just glue it on.
Gotcha.
And then I would slice it down the middle and have it so it could open up, and I would put maybe 2-3 floors in it where you could have, and it would, be the height where you could have the 11-inch Android standing inside of it.
Yes. Yeah,
But yeah, it's on the dream list. I honestly just don't have the space. I mean, maybe I could put it in this room if I got rid of this table behind me, but I said,
yeah,
I need to do it at some point. It's definitely been on the list for a long time. In fact, the Krang was the very first thing I really wanted to do, and I remember just like I was scanning my Krang figure with these crappy phone apps and trying every different way. But like I said, I started that thing in the pandemic. I didn't finish it till that sewer showdown. I mean, that thing, all the parts to that thing, my buddy had helped me start slicing the original parts. That was printed in bunches of different parts. There were like, I had like sliced the torso here, like your shoulder. I think I did one shoulder first, and then I did the other shoulder, and then there was like loads of different. Oh yeah, there it is.
Oh, dude, that is ridiculous.
Man,
that thing started.
Be scared to drop that.
Yeah, started during the pandemic, and I finished it for that sewer showdown because I was like, well, I have to come up with something epic if I'm hosting a show. I said I have to have an epic piece for this. So I was like, well, let me pull this thing out and try and finish it. And at this point, I have 3 FDM printers. I had all 3 of them printing, trying to finish this thing in time for this show. And I was printing I remember the freaking the torso, like the crotch, it kept failing. I had like a printer it's an Anycubic Chiron. It's a pretty good sized printer. It's like a 15, 16-inch bed. And that part just kept failing over and over again. And I just I pretty much just had to keep resetting wherever I left off, and I'd add whatever layers worked to that. And that's all glued together. I mean, all this different layers, the cabin, everything. It was like, even the legs, I had issues with them, like failing with the prints. And I was like, man, I just got to get this thing done. And I was having to like order parts to repair printers so I could get it done in time.
I love it.
So crazy.
And your antenna's still intact.
Yeah. I was even going to print the little, even somebody commented, I remember they commented, oh, and it's missing the glass door, or it's missing the cabin door or whatever. And I was like, well, watch out. I can print it in resin. I'm pretty sure it'll fit on one of my resin printers. I could do the clear door and print it out and make it fit. But I have to adjust that Krang. For some reason, he didn't want to fit inside the cabin just right. I actually sculpted some different arms I planned to put on him so he can fit into the cabin better. I don't know why it was scaled to the same amount, unless it was something to do with the scaling was off between the 2 different files that I used.
No, that's really sick, man. And did you do different hands like the prototype?
Yeah. So that was in the book. Are you guys familiar with the book Rad Plastic?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Fantastic.
Anyways, Matt, I think it's Matt George on Instagram, or I think I don't remember, the Geeks and Antiques, I think is his Instagram. He had some photos of it. I know this guy owns it. He owns like loads of prototypes. But anyways, these specific ones I sculpted in Nomad to look just like the photographs.
Yeah, I so wish they came out with that. Like, it was such an important.
Well, I have them for the vintage one. In fact, if you ever pull your Krang's hands out of his socket, that's what it looks like. It's got the little ball.
Yeah.
It was designed to do it. I guarantee it was just a production issue, because you can pull these out and stick them in your 11-inch. I'll show you. Let me grab them here.
There you go, Deano.
I'll buy some of them off you.
You need to send them.
Dave, while you grab those, just a couple of quick questions. How much does that Krang? Sure. Just questions in the chat. How much does that Krang weigh?
So if I would have printed it the way I kind of print now, it would probably not have been as heavy. But I remember when those first prints, I was doing like 10% infill on the shoulders and 15% infill. I mean, which is unnecessary. It didn't have to be that much infill for something that you're going to coat in epoxy, which is going to strengthen it. Mm-hmm. So it's got some weight to it. I'd say maybe, let's see here. We'll pick it up. I'd say at least 20 pounds, 15, 20 pounds.
Yeah, that's gorgeous.
All right, now put pounds in kilos.
We're talking 8 kilos.
8 kilos. All right.
Yeah, my bad. You know our, all right. You know our systems and don't make any sense.
I love it.
So are they magnet hands? I noticed the left hand on your side.
Yeah, in fact, I cut off the pegs. And drilled this out and made it so it could be magnets, because I was like, well, I want to add these extra hands. Those are just magnets.
Yeah, nice.
That's cool.
But yeah, you can put I think I have it so they can only go one way. I put the gun.
Oh, that's sick.
But I don't
You
think
must
this will work
love
on that
painting
arm.
yellow. So I
Oh,
hate painting yellow, man. It's the worst color to paint.
well, I actually spray most of my figures are
Okay, you sprayed it.
all water-based paint. But this thing, I was like, there's no way. I went to Home Depot and I got every color that I thought looked right. These are all actually Home Depot spray paints, except
Oh
for
wow.
the teal here. I think I used a water-based teal that
Yeah.
I had, and the Krang was a custom mixed color with just different paints. I had water-based paints, but most of these, like this base color, that's all a spray paint from Home Depot. The yellow's from Home Depot. The silver, I mean, I had a silver that matched it, but it was also from Home Depot. And then the red was from Home Depot.
It's so cool.
And
So, Dave,
you did stickers?
Matt,
Sorry, Scotty.
no, that's okay. You go, Deano.
No, I was just going to say they are repro, like they're stickers.
Okay, so the stickers, this was another challenge. I have a little bit of Photoshop skills from college when I did a couple, graphic design classes. And basically I used the Photoshop perspective warp feature, which is like you can take like a square and you something that's laying on an odd angle, because most of these people on eBay that are selling these repro stickers, they don't want you just to steal their stuff, so they put it on like an angle. The photograph is not dead on from above. So anyways, they have a perspective warp tool in Photoshop. I use that to basically select all four corners, and Photoshop will bring it back to a square image.
Oh,
and then from there, you just upscale them. And this was actually just printer paper, just regular glossy photo paper. And then I just glued them on.
Love it. So good.
That's awesome, man. So, Dave, Maddie in the chat is asking if you've ever gone in the opposite direction and downsized something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Let me see if I have something that's smaller that I made. But with resin printing, for sure.
Mutants.
So actually a guy in the UK, and I didn't want to like step on his toes, but his name is Kevin O'Neill, the Retro Saint on Instagram. He does little mini characters of all the turtles. And at the time I was like, well, he can do all the little ones, I'll do all the big ones. Yeah, he does. I didn't want to step on his toes with doing the mini turtles, but he does a lot of those. Just like the mini mutants that you got back in the day. He does all these different little resin printed, like tiny little figures to match in with those.
Yeah. Awesome. How you going, Enz?
Hey, Enzo.
Hey, Enz.
How are you, buddy?
So we'll pull up one more thing that you did, and then we'll hit a little bit on making a mutant, and then we'll get onto the SD. But this one's cool because you actually did a different paint scheme on it.
Oh, wow.
Hensley?
Yes. The Mondo Gecko was the second giant that I raffled. I raffled the Muckman before that, and the paint scheme was all from the book Rad Plastic. I think it's on, I don't know what page it's on, but anyways, that was all like a prototype deco, and the little voodoo patch on the back, that sticker never made it to production either. They did do like a different version of it. A friend of mine, X-Ray Customs, sent me a sticker, a set of the repro stickers that had a different voodoo patch on it, which I guess was also must have been very limited release, because even that is like impossible to find now. Most of the Mondo Gecko stickers that came with them did not even include the voodoo patch.
Love it.
Dude, that is so cool. I love the idea of like, not only making these exact representations of the vintage figures, but like, paying homage to some of the prototypes that, never made it to production, but there's, you see them in toy catalogs and stuff like that.
Giving them life. Yeah.
And if you're taking the time to do a giant one, it's like why not like take the time to like make whatever details and make it as custom as hell,
For sure.
And the skateboard works too. How good's that? Because actually,
there's other videos of me dragging this thing around on the ground. I actually tied a fishing line to it, and I was dragging it around for some videos.
I remember watching that video, and it stacked it off the skateboard, and I'm just like, please, man, don't be scratched up.
I had to do some touch-up paint after that video. I remember I went in through. Luckily, I still had most of these colors were just I don't know, cheap acrylic paints, like stuff you get at Walmart.
Yeah.
Or mix.
So
Sometimes
what-
I use nicer paints, but I'll mix them in. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, so are the upscaled figures, like, are they 3 times the size? Like, what's the how?
That's generally been my rule.
Yeah.
That's generally been my rule. But the first foot soldier, I think the foot soldier I originally did, I now sent that to the TMNT collector. He helped me do some of those first raffles. So I remember the head didn't look right when I printed it out because obviously the original 90s Donatello. Let me see if I can grab him here. This original figure, the basketball just fell for the Don. But this is not 3D printed. This was the original 90s one. And you see how the extremities are just even kind of bulked up. I didn't like the way the foot soldier looked next to it, so I printed it again even bigger. I think I did 325% larger than the original to make it kind of look. But ended up being like way taller than the turtle.
Yeah, just to give it a bit
the
more
foot soldier originally. Yeah, because it didn't have it, and I didn't really want to. At that point, I didn't know how to do digital sculpting stuff, so I didn't really mess with the making it bulkier. But honestly, I think that would work better. And that's a fun story too about the original. I'm sure you guys already know that if you watch any of these turtle documentaries. Is the foot soldier and the shredder were originally taller until they had to crouch them to make them fit the packaging.
Yeah,
Scott Hensley talks about that, like taking and smashing the clay armature down to make it fit in the packaging rather than resculpt it.
It makes perfect sense though, because those 2 figures have such strange posture.
Yeah, they're like all hunched over like that.
Yeah.
The shredders.
Was it Mark Taylor who said he was like make it like a I can't remember what he said. Hey Dino, how you going, mate?
Hey Dino. Hope you're well, mate.
Yeah, no, definitely some cool jobs you've done. But what we'll jump into now, I'm just going to play one of them because I did have a fair few of them, but we are running a bit short on time. But
all right, no problem.
Before we play it, we'll ask you why you came about this. And to be honest, I love the concept of making a mutant, where you have obviously asked a whole bunch of different artists out there to collab together, and you all make I don't know, do you make one body part each? Is it or?
Yeah, that's how it all started. So basically I had the idea, I guess, just sort of from trying to feel included in some of these collaborative things I was seeing. You see a lot of group art shows, and that's what the Sewer Showdown was like a group art show. It was an online art show. Everybody posts at the same time, at the same day. We did it on TMNT Day, so it all everybody's Instagram feed was filled with turtles at that moment. But it started from, I guess you could say, a couple Canadian guys. Lab Monkey number 9, the Angry Beast, a couple different guys that do these art shows, online art shows. And I was like, well, I want to create my own thing that's sort of for more digital people, or like 3D printing, 3D sculpting type people. I want to do something where you could collab with them. And I had the idea to do a figure where each person sculpts a different body part. So like, and then you put it all together, but nobody knows what the other people are doing. You bring it all together at the end, and then you have a very unique figure and everybody's put a load of detail into this one part. So it should make an interesting looking figure at the very least.
Yeah. I think in this one, we're going to be playing to it's the one where you did the Kaiju monster and the mecha, I think it was. You just had the 2 different teams against each other. So it's definitely some cool work here. So you want to bring it up, Scott?
See you, Matt. See you, Andrew. Have a good night.
Yeah. This was probably, I don't know, maybe 12 people. I can't remember exactly how many were in this round, but we were doing it each round. We were inviting different people. That's the Foot from Portugal again, my friend, Epoxy Crusader in Mexico City. He's in Spain,
awesome,
Rebel 3D.
There's your leg you did for it?
Yep. That was the leg I did. SNZ's in France. He did that. Left Hand Freak is an American. He did that. Arthur Green was in France also.
Love it.
He's in Sweden. He did that awesome head sculpt. Another American in Kentucky. He had, so this is what, sometimes we'd have somebody drop out. So somebody else would be like, oh, I'll sculpt another part or whatever.
Oh, wow.
You know, if somebody happened to drop out.
Wow, that's the Eiffel Tower.
Most of these guys are from Mexico City. My friend Gorehounds, California. Yep. Sycamills in Spain. More Horrifics in Texas, United States. But yeah, these are all and this was, I think, the 4th round of our project. So we started with like the very first one was, I think just like we used the Punker Donatello, the punk rock Donatello. We used that as an armature for the very first mutant. And I don't even have one of it printed. I think I gave it away to a guy at that convention, the very first one.
Okay.
But yeah, the idea definitely, we've done a lot of rounds, and until recent, we were doing them every month. About every month, 2 months, we were doing another one. And I sort of put it on hold at the moment because I've been renovating my house, and I've just taken a break from so many things because I was outstretching with way too much stuff. But we're definitely also in a group chat on Instagram. We're definitely still talking. We'll definitely probably do. Yeah, that's the very first one.
I love the concept. Like, it's so good to see. And now that I actually know you don't know what each other's making until the end, it just makes it so much better. Because
sometimes we'll pick a theme now. We'll pick like a theme, like that theme for the 4th one was kaiju and mecha. So that way it all kind of somewhat meshed. But this first one was just all random. I said, just make something following this armature, anything under the sun. And that's what it came out to.
Love it.
Looks sick.
We'll pull up one more while we're at it. Why not?
It's definitely an awesome concept. Do any of you remember a late 70s, early 80s toy called the Tomy Mighty Men and Monster Maker? This is a real obscure, like, vintage toy reference. Does that ring a bell to anyone?
No.
I do remember some stuff. I remember like creepy crawlers. I don't know if I remember that specific line you're talking about.
Tomy had like a toy, right, where it was like all these plates. There was heads, there was torsos, there was arms, there was legs, and it was all different monsters, and you'd make your own creature. And I had a cousin's hand-me-down as a kid. I want to buy one and maybe talk about it on the channel, but it's a similar sort of concept. Like, piece by piece, you just make these random monsters, and this is what this kind of makes me think of. I used to love it as a kid.
Called Mix and Match Turtles.
Yeah, I have that one.
There you go.
I love the classic. I love the classic.
That's what you do with it.
There you go.
I think the concept's definitely been done. It's definitely been done before, but I think that was probably all sculpted by probably the same sculptor, I would imagine. The only thing that really separates our idea is that we have artists all over the world doing the parts. So when you got like all these different styles coming together. Here's one that I have printed. This was from one of the art shows, Apocalyptico. Rebel 3D in Spain. He sculpted this sort of like apocalyptic. This was like an apocalyptic themed art show. I sculpted this arm here. Cool. My friend in Texas, More Horrific, sculpted this arm with like the blade. I think By Gabo Zeta in Ecuador did this. Did this torso, and then obviously I think I lost his left leg here. That's just a metalhead leg, which these are compatible with most vintage turtle stuff as far as the articulation. In fact, these are like my friend in Kentucky, Bastards of the Multiverse. This is kind of like his I guess we'll say patented design, but I don't really want to break it, but I'm having trouble twisting. I think it's kind of locked on right now, but basically it's just like a leg tree from a classic turtle.
Yeah.
But he's kind of got this joint that can kind of twist on. Right now, I think my resin is kind of seized together at the moment. I don't know what's going on. Or maybe my leg tree was too. Oh, here we go. I'll get it off.
I just love that it's collaborative.
It's sort of slotted. It's sort of slotted, but then has the ball joint in it, so it fits.
Gotcha.
Oh wow!
Move that arm so you can see. Yeah, my friend in Kentucky kind of designed this so it can twist on. And that way you can use ball joint articulation with resin, which is pretty much impossible to do. Before that, resin joints break all the time. They're real fragile.
Wow.
Very cool.
Yeah, if you open them up, you'll see.
For that figure, was there a brief, Dave, to make sure that it was it was somewhat cohesive or not free rein?
So the guy that originally helped us with the armature, Rebel 3D in Spain, he wanted the figures to all kind of be cohesive, and that was a big concern for a lot of the artists in the beginning. Which I was like, I'm more like, whatever works together, we'll just mix it together. We can figure it out at the end if it doesn't match exactly, because sometimes you'll have parts that would interfere, like you saw in that very first mutant. I think the like spikes came up a little too close to the neck, so I think Bastards of the Multiverse, he took and originally sort of bent stuff out of the way a little bit digitally. And there's still room for manipulation at the end if it doesn't work perfectly. So, I mean, without like damaging what the artist has done, you can still make it functional. But yeah, as far as the armature, the guy from Spain, he wanted to design one that was similar to like a General Trag stance. Like let me see. He wanted like an armature that was similar pose to like a General Trag.
Yeah, so like squat legs with a big body and long arms.
Yes, and he basically made an armature, which is just like a very simplified version of that, like a digital armature. And then we all just kind of use that to follow for our pattern. And so all of our mutants, they're all interchangeable. If you could take the arm off of one, they just have like the swivel arms like the classic turtles do. Once you break the 2-part body apart, you got your armature inside, you've got the swivel arm.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
But yeah, he's got it all set up in ZBrush. Bastards of the Multiverse in Kentucky, he's got it all set up in ZBrush where he can just push a button, and after he's aligned all the pieces, it'll cut all the articulation in.
Wow.
Like I said, that's all his design for the leg joints. He also does hips, which is like what the heck is restoring your old He-Man figures, Motu figures. He's got these hips that he's designed that are resin printed that will go in and repair a broken, those rubber bands that always break.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's the sort of thing. So he's very talented with that. In fact, all the guys in this group are super talented. In fact, more horrific in Texas. He would always sculpt like any part. If somebody dropped out of a round, he would sculpt like another part overnight. Yeah. He was just crazy. And we'd have lots of people that were like that. It would be like, oh, if somebody drops out, I'll pick it up and I'll do that part. And he would whip out something in like 6 hours or something and have something ready. So it was like, it's crazy.
He does amazing work. I remember you've got a picture on, I think, on one of your Instagrams, and it's all his pieces. It just makes this conglomerate of a monster. It looks so good. All more horrific pieces.
Yeah, he's an insane sculptor. He's actually done some work for Mondo now too. Have you seen the new Baxter Stockman soft vinyl?
No, I haven't actually. I haven't seen the soft vinyl.
Mondo released the.
I've seen the Mondo Gecko they did in the Turtles.
No, Mondo the company. Yeah. Mondo the company that they've released a new. They're doing all the soft vinyl Turtles. Yeah, he did the sculpt for Baxter Stockman. It's killer. It's like insane. He's next level sculptor.
Love it. That's so good. And you've actually got an Aussie sculpting in one of the episodes too, or one of the Making a Mutant. I forget his handle on Instagram. But he was in the Apocalyptico round. He did like the little guy on the motorcycle. I can't think of I don't know. I have to pull up the picture. But that's so good.
I can't. Dude, you know how many we've had? Probably 30, 40 different sculptors filter in and out of Making a Mutant since the beginning. And
insane.
Unless you're somebody who's stuck around for every round, I probably not going to remember their name. I'm not going to lie to you.
No, don't blame you. But it's definitely a cool concept to be able to reach out to all those people and then all get together and make these incredible looking mutants. Like, have all the figures end up made and painted, or are some still?
No, very, very little. I mean, anybody who participated in a round can have access to the files and can sell and print them if they want. You know what I mean? If they participated, that's like sort of how we, I guess, worked it out. Like, as far as I don't want anybody getting upset, like, oh, you owe me royalties or whatever. But it's like a friend in Mexico City, he actually had some of them made up. And he went and sold them. But that was sort of the agreement. Like, you can't come after anybody and say you owe me money for selling this. Like, you basically just have the right to sell the figure, like yourself, if you participated in that specific round of the project. So different people would print them and paint them. A guy in France, Arthur Green, he was a really good painter. He printed out a couple of them. I think they're on the Making a Mutant page. You'll see like the Kaiju one, the one you showed in that video. He painted those up and they look really good as far as like the paint deco he chose.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. All right, so we better crack on to
very little.
The souvenirs.
Just one thing, as a bunch of Aussies, is there a giant walkabout on the cards?
So I did a giant Kid Kangi. I haven't done the walkabout. In fact, I haven't had a scan for him until recent. I did make one. I don't know if you saw one of the mashups I did on my page. I did like a mashup with Star Wars with More Horrific, and I did I did the walkabout as a Tauntaun and the Leo. I think it was Leo as I did like an Arctic Dawn remake into a Leo as Han, in the winter Hoth scene. But I haven't done a giant walkabout. But I did do a giant Kid Kangi. In fact, I was friends with this guy at one point. Aussie Toy Flippers, I think was his original name. And then he kind of left Instagram. I don't know exactly what happened. But anyways, I had mailed him a giant Kid Kangi.
Can you
that was back when I was first getting into this stuff.
There you go.
Yeah, there's the walkabout as the Tauntaun. But I actually scanned that walkabout with my phone and then re-edited the details because the scan quality with my phone was shit. So I had to go back through and add the detail to make the walkabout look right.
That's awesome.
That's the one. More Horrific did the Casey Jones. I gave him the idea and he just ran with it, and it was just killer with the carbonite pizza, deep dish pizza.
That's wicked.
I love
it.
Wicked. All right, sorry, Dan.
All right, so we'll get on to the sort of showdown, and I do have one last clip at the end to show of more of Dave's work, but we may get on to this. Let me just try to get it up. I'm new to this. Where are we at? There we go, Scotty. Okay, so first figure that we've actually seen is the Tatsu. Like one of these figures that was actually we thought would never be made because of obviously licensing and all that. So
because they've been like NECA have been doing the movie figures for a while now with no sign of Tatsu. So
well, I'm pretty sure he wanted too much money. The actual actor. That's the talk on the rumor mill. Who knows? Who knows the real story behind it? But yeah, they nailed this one out of the park in my eyes, NECA.
Yeah, that's sick.
He's sick.
Pretty unbelievable. And you also get a little battle armor mask with it too.
Oh yeah,
pretty cool.
Oh, that's cool.
That's cool.
Now, how are the toy stores set up by you guys?
Pardon?
How are the toy stores set up by you guys? Can you just go in? You just have to go into a store and get lucky and find it, or you do pre-orders, or how y'all get NECA?
The key word is toy stores.
We don't
have any at all.
We don't have many toy stores. A lot of it's online.
So you got to drive a long distance to get to a toy store.
Now we've got Toy Mate. Is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Toy Mate.
They're probably the last toy store we really have around. It's not a great selection. You're not going to find like NECA. You're not going to find these figures just sitting on shelves, things like that. If you want to collect, you're looking at pre-ordering from stores.
Yeah, pre-ordering or like a private toy seller, a person doing it, importing them in themselves and stuff like that. But we don't get a good selection like you guys get over there.
You can't just go to.
We definitely didn't get. I don't remember anybody getting a pre-order for this. I remember everybody just started saying they're hitting Walmarts. That's usually what it is here. It hits Walmart, and then we all just start hunting, and maybe 3 lucky people in the area find them, and then everybody else is just out of luck for quite a while until they show up. But I mean, there is a pretty good distribution in the States, but I mean, I haven't seen them. I think I saw somebody post a picture at my local Walmart and basically say there's however many more on the shelf, but I'm done with the NECA movie line. I'm broke. I can't do it anymore.
It's a big line. It's a crazy line. Yeah, and a lot of people actually thought for about a week after this got released, they were just showing the cover box, and everyone's going, "Oh, it's a hoax. It's a bullshit. Someone's done some AI art or something like that there." But it looks like it is a thing. It's on NECA's site, so and people have got it now. But we'll jump into the actual ones at the actual Comic-Con. I'll show that shot off first. That's pretty cool.
That does look sick.
With soldiers and a little arcade behind it. And that's kind of like we were talking about a couple of streams ago. We were talking about actually like a Play Lab set. Like it'd be cool if they did like a big play set, and they've done some pretty cool backgrounds here.
But that would be like $1,000 there if you had 13 foot soldiers.
Oh, it'd be insane.
Oh yeah, it wouldn't be cheap.
That's
yeah, we've got the old cartoon Slash. They've actually made the different type of.
Do you like these, Dave? Do you like these NECA?
I'm a huge fan of the cartoon stuff. If you look back behind me over there, I have most of the cartoon ones. I was almost ready just to sell my NECA movie ones. In fact, I have those on the bottom shelf back there. But the toon ones, I've been mostly following along. I mean, obviously, in recent times, I've been financially not really extending as much as I was in the beginning. But as far as like the old, like most of the cartoon ones I have.
Yeah.
And most of the movie ones, I guess I'm ready to sell my movie ones, honestly. Anybody want Toka and Razar and all that stuff? I'll ship it over in a big box.
the toon ones, they did an epic one. They really have done a pretty epic job on toon ones. I don't know what they're going with this ultimate shredder with the chef hat. I guess it's from the cartoon. And it's but yeah.
Yeah, I remember the episode.
I think these are all just cost saving methods by NECA, honestly, just to save on your tooling 100%. And just add a couple new accessories and resell it, repackage it, resell it. The same with the Ultimate Turtles, which were just the same as the Disguise Turtles. And it's I don't know. I did get the Donatello because I'm a huge Donatello fan, but
that's a question.
I try to avoid. Oh, Donatello's my guy.
That's two guests in a row. Love Donatello. Like it. We'll jump over to these ones. These ones cracked me up. The Dimension Xmas Vacation Turtles.
Xmas Vacation.
That's hilarious.
Check out those shoes on them.
Oh wow! I never even saw these yet. I mean, I did see a few photos of them, but not up close like that.
Yeah, they're definitely pretty wild. And
the little presents they come with. How cool is that?
Yeah, and Leo gets the Christmas lights sculpted around him,
and the very vintage 80s skateboard.
Yeah,
everyone had one of them.
Like
that was so good.
They kind of look like the out of their shells like heads.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, they do.
They don't
I was going to say
quite like the original movie costume heads.
100%. Yeah, no, they're definitely different. I don't know if I like the shoes. They're kind of looks a bit weird.
They're definitely taking the Mickey out of themselves. Like they're a little bit of a laugh. Those figures for sure.
100%.
All right. This is one I was stoked for because we were talking about this only a couple of streams ago. Is the Shredder on the throne?
That is cool. That is a cool set.
And he's got the flower.
The mutated flower,
yeah.
Definitely.
I love the flower. The dandelion. Giant dandelion.
The mutated flower. Yeah, it's sick.
I just can't believe we were talking about it. What was it? 2 streams ago? Or 1 stream ago, I think it was. We're talking about throne.
Is that sort of thing just at Walmart on the shelf, Dave?
I have not seen any of that. I've only seen a bunch of ads. I've seen a bunch of ads about them wanting people to pre-order that with Trevor there from NECA. I think he's in the commercial basically saying to pre-order it. And I think I heard recently it was about to close. If you didn't get in on it, it was about to be. So I don't know if they're doing success with that or not. I heard that this was originally from one of the trading cards, that it wasn't, as far as the design goes, one of the vintage movie trading cards had that on it, and then that's how they kind of designed it.
Yeah,
such a cool look.
Nice.
Right, we'll jump over the next one. We've got the Punk Turtles coming in. They're pretty cool. I must admit, I do like these ones.
Now those are a little bit older, aren't they? Or is that another version of them?
So this is now Raph and Leo. Pretty sure they made the Donnie and Mikey first, didn't they? I'm not 100%.
They had a 4-pack here in the States that are I still see at the store. In fact, that's the first NECA I've seen that didn't sell out on the shelf. They can still see. Well, I think it was the set before this, but they had a 4-pack of them in those sneakers and the jackets and the glasses. They still have those on the shelves here.
They might have just put this in the booth at SDCC, but they're saying they're new, but probably not knowing NECA. Probably painted something slightly different. But yeah,
Well,
this
that's
is the
what
one.
I was thinking because those are fairly old.
Oh,
I love that.
That's
Yeah,
new.
this is this is definitely a new.
So
You're
that's the
born-
cartoon. That's the cartoon collection.
Has
Yeah,
to be, yeah.
I'm pretty
That's
sure.
so
Yeah,
cool.
I don't remember him appearing in the cartoon, but maybe he did.
No. Oh no, I think he did.
He did.
Yeah, he did.
Yep.
Very, very, very.
Which episode? I'd like to watch that.
Oh,
I'm gonna say
I'd
season
love to Google
5.
it.
I could be wrong.
yeah. I've nearly finished season 3, and he hasn't turned up yet. But I've seen him in the show. Just
Yeah.
Have you gone back and rewatched the entire '87 cartoon?
I have.
Oh, okay. I just got into some of them, and I was like, I can't. It's too bad.
Not in its entirety. I'm up to season. Like I'm just about to finish season 3. It is difficult.
Okay.
I watched the 2012 animated series, and Worm had an episode in that, and he was like a space creature they stumbled across, and he was just like insane.
Oh,
He was such like a random character. And yeah,
I've heard that's a really good
Yeah.
series. I've never watched
It is.
2012.
Storytelling out of the park. So good.
I'm hoping they have a secondary head for him where it has pop out eyes, but if they don't, I guess
That'd be cool.
Yeah, see, Johnny's saying the worm was never in the show, just in an ad. So yeah,
I do remember seeing a snippet.
seen it in like a reel. So maybe
I did remember the commercial. I have seen the
Yeah,
commercial where it shows them.
must have been that I've noticed.
Well, one thing NECA are doing though is they're doing animated, like they're doing figures that weren't characters that weren't in the animated series, but in a style as if they were. Like, I don't know if you saw this, Dave, but they've just shown at San Diego Comic-Con a Panda Khan figure, like how they imagine he would have looked in the animated series.
I'm a huge fan of it, honestly, just because Panda Khan is sort of sentimental, I guess, in the collecting for me. But I would definitely be picking that one up. But yeah, it definitely seems like they almost did it in like a Stan Sakai style, like Usagi.
Yeah.
I know that they had a panda bear in Stan Sakai's stuff, but I think it looked different than Panda Khan. I don't remember the name of the two artists, but for the longest time, we didn't think we were going to get Panda Khan because I thought there was like a rights issue. Dave Garcia and Monica Sharp, I think, were the original creators of Panda Khan, and I was like, because we haven't seen any iterations of him up to this point. Even Super 7 hadn't done them, and I was like, well, maybe the rights are just too complicated to get this figure, or I don't know.
Yeah.
I think
there you go. My wife just said there's
It's
an
a great
eye over in the drawer. So,
yeah, and he has
That's
that
cool.
that eye play feature in the vintage line where you.
so there you go. So he might have different sort of head sculpt, or maybe those eyes pop off. Not sure.
First person.
That's a great looking figure.
It is a cool looking
Definitely.
figure. This one actually, I think is pretty cool too. I hope this comes with some sort of like stick-on tattoos. It's gotta.
Yeah.
Well, he needs more than one. He needs more than the belly tat. That's for sure.
Yeah. So
He's not really tattooed, is he?
That was
definitely
one of my
hope
first
comes.
Turtles too. The original one of that, the Playmates version. I remember specifically. I think I was at I was in like first grade, or maybe it was kindergarten, and we were going to I walked by the Lost and Found table, and I was convinced this was mine. And I was on the table, and I was like, "That's my toy," or whatever. And I was like, I think this is before I grasped that there was multiple toys made, or I don't know what the heck I was thinking, but I thought that toy was mine. Anyways, I get it home, I've still got mine at my house. it was clearly not my Lost and Found tattoo, but that had to have been one of my first Turtles too, because I was young when I had that one.
That's cool. That's so cool. Yeah, that's one I wish I had as a kid. I would have loved to have applied the tattoos on my own
I don't
figure.
think mine ever even had the tattoos. I must have lost the stickers, but this one has them.
I'm still trying to figure out how many tattoos is a complete tattoo.
Oh, I have the sticker sheet, I think, but one of the stickers fell off.
Yeah, just have a look at mine.
Let's see if I can find it.
I collect the vintage line loose, but I want to try and get like a really rough carded tattoo so I can bust it open and actually apply all the tattoos fresh.
Yeah.
So,
There you go, Dave.
One of the stickers came off. I think I have it in a folder, but that's
So
what
there's a fair few.
looks like.
So 17 by the looks of that.
Wow. That is cool.
Shit, there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a hard time finding a loose tattoo out in the wild with 17 tattoos on it.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Some of those look really small too, like little knives or something.
Little scars. Yeah, no,
Nice.
cool. I'll jump up to.
That's a
Yeah,
spare.
these are different. I kind of do like them. I really do. I think they're called the Vacation Bebop and Rocksteady or Holiday Bebop
Oh,
and
it's getting a
Rocksteady.
bit silly now.
Nah, come on,
They
they're
definitely
cool.
had that in the cartoon. They definitely had that in the cartoon. I remember that. I think I remember that episode vaguely. But as far as like that look,
is this something everyone wants? Like they're running out to grab this? And I'm assuming next is going to be.
I would make a bet that this is probably going to be one of the shelf warmers. At least even the reissue of the 2-pack that they did. Remember the reissue they just did of the original Bebop and Rocksteady from the cartoon? You could still find those at my Target not that long ago, and that 4-pack with the jackets was at my Target. It's still there. In fact, this is the first time I've seen NECA not sell out all their stuff at the Targets near me.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Everything in the States is Target for the cartoon line.
Yeah.
The movie line is all Walmart.
Okay, really. We'll jump over the next one. We've got some Triceratons. They're pretty cool. Why they've done these? I don't know if these are new.
They're wearing their underwear.
I feel like that's
what's
a nod to the vintage comics. Oh yeah, I don't know.
When they came through from Dimension X, were they wearing? No, I don't think it was.
I don't remember them having underwear. That's got to be a comic reference.
Are they wearing jockeys? What's going on?
Yeah, probably. It probably is a comic.
Whitey tighties.
Yeah, fully.
They look like you look at the name placement behind the Triceratons, and it's kind of like the vintage comic.
Yeah.
Sort of word.
Yeah. Eastman and Large Turtles. Yeah, so you probably are right there. It's probably from the comic.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I still don't remember them when I read that.
They look just like the Triceraton on the vintage video game, the Manhattan Project. Remember that game? The NES, the third one. They got the Triceraton on the cover. Yeah. Although I didn't really have much of the comics as a kid, so I mean, it was just that reference that I would even want that figure from.
I understand. But yeah, I love this new Leatherhead that they've brought out. I reckon that's actually pretty cool. I don't collect any of these new modern ones, but
see, that doesn't look much different to the 2012 Leatherhead.
That is, very similar actually. Very similar stance.
Like,
100%.
I actually like the Mutant Mayhem design for that figure too. Well, it was a lady in the new movie.
The Cajun.
Give us one sec.
There was a Cajun, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, Leatherhead was always a Cajun. In fact, that's one of the reasons why I want to do it, because I'm in New Orleans. I'm not originally from here. I'm from the Midwest, but as far as wanting to do a Southern Cajun figure was definitely because I'm here.
So yeah, that's the 2012 Leatherhead, and
it's very similar.
Which is a good guy, in the line.
Really?
Yeah. So, massive friends with Mikey and Leatherhead. They sort of become friends after a bit of confusion.
It kind of pissed me off that in Mutant Mayhem they made Leatherhead like an Australian crocodile.
Yeah, I think that was just Seth Rogen trying to make it different. I don't know. I don't know exactly what the reason was, but I mean, that was obviously a completely different interpretation of Turtles.
Yeah, true. But like, I don't know. To me, Leatherhead is just like inherently like Louisiana alligator.
Cajun.
You know what I mean? Yeah, Cajun alligator. Like
he worked it so well.
Absolutely. Is it Australian? Because it is Raging Cajun Gator.
No, because it was an Aussie accent.
But the accent that the actor is it just to be like an Australian?
But we don't have gators in Australia.
No.
Yeah, but it's an Aussie. It's an Aussie living
croc, right?
Yeah, we got big crocodiles.
Yeah, but
what part of Australia have those crazy saltwater crocs? Those things look scary as hell.
So above us, Queensland.
Yeah.
Queensland and Northern Territory have some crazy crocs as well.
Yeah, that's a whole nother life. Deadly Australian animals.
No,
these are ones. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
That's right.
That's just
those the ones you're talking
that's an
about,
Aussie
Dave?
living in New Orleans.
That's the Archie set. That's the set I first made a custom set of. Yeah, I never did have the comics, but when I discovered the comics, I really wanted to make this set, so I made that set. It's a very crappy custom set I did with the Playmates 88 Turtles, and I just sort of sculpted the details on with epoxy sculpt. But they did a killer job with these. In fact, I am, I guess, looking for these. I guess I really shouldn't spend the money right now, but I definitely want that set.
Yeah, it's a cool set. I love Raphael. I love the blacked out character. It's pretty cool.
I mean, the Archie set in general is very cool, just because a lot of people, that was the comics they had. If your parents didn't like the violent, like original Mirage comics, the Archie comics were, so kid centered that these were what most kids had. You know what I mean? Like as far as like the goofy characters, and it was more lighthearted.
Okay. And they've got obviously this character too, the Crying Hound.
Crying Hound. Yeah.
It's definitely different.
Do you guys have the Archie comics?
Got them. I'm not a huge comic collector, so I haven't really read into them as much, but definitely been looking into it.
Yeah, I got 1 to 30, and then a few here there.
Yeah, I did one of them. I did one of the. Well, I would say DeFoot Toys. Those two guys, they're like the top. Honestly, those guys were doing Archie stuff from the beginning, with their whole like Krang, or like the DeFoot with like the foot head, an actual foot as his head, and all that type of stuff. I did this chameleon based on one of the Archie comic covers.
Oh wow!
Of course, I did him in like a green rather than a brown, but that was one of the iconic covers of the. I don't remember what issue it is. Is it 7 or I don't remember the exact number, but this chameleon was based on the cover of one of those comics.
It's like a 1940s PI detective.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to dig through a box to find the comic, but it's like a classic cover with Raphael on the front and the chameleon standing behind the corner like this, pretty much, or however he's standing. that's how he's posed.
That's cool.
Hey, Gap.
So these are another 3 new ones we're getting. Obviously, the Crying Hound. You've got the Mondo Gecko and Belly Bomb, which is this from the same sort of Archie comics?
Yeah, all Archie comics. These are all Archie comics. In fact, did you guys see I think they have a Ray Fillet too. I don't know where I said that. Let me see if I can find them.
Ray Fillet.
Yeah, definitely.
This is that's Ray from the Archie comics.
Oh yeah, wow. That's
just all these different interpretations of these same characters, like obviously the one with the color change, the Playmates one with the color change is pretty cool.
Yeah.
This is a character I never had this one as a kid, but once I saw, that it existed, because I remember the video game with him and everything.
Yeah.
It's one I really wanted.
That one's clean as well. Like often when you find loose ones that have the color change feature, they're a little bit sort of, I don't know, they're a bit
faded. He's a little beat up, but not bad. I mean, I think one of these, I own one of them that I opened on card in 2015. I probably should have never opened it. It was vintage, but I was like, even the Diver Leo that I had it on card in 2015, and I think I only paid like $20 for it. I opened it up.
I started collecting like 3 years too late.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, you could buy these you could buy a carded one of these for $20 in 202015 on eBay. That
is so crazy to me.
That figure in Australia.
The same with this one.
Like $400.
This is insane to me too, because of the toys that made us and the toys that made us and the pandemic itself. I think I paid $30 for this. This is now a super rare one too. I think the perfect year to start following the perfect year to start collecting would have been any year before the pandemic or the Toys That Made Us came out on Netflix. If you just were before those two things, the prices were like dog shit for most turtle shit.
Dude, I started collecting in like 2018, and even then in Australia, you were probably paying $20 to $25 for like a complete loose figure. You know what I mean? Like outside of the first 2 or 3 waves, you know what I mean? Like
The key,
Carded, I don't know, because I was never picking up carded, but gosh, that's crazy.
I wasn't either. I was mostly just trying to find them complete. But if I ever found that one, actually is on a nice card. But most of the ones, I would just look for crappy cards that were still in the package because I was going to open it anyways.
Yeah.
So if it had like a really beat up bubble and the card bark was falling off, that's what I was looking for because it was way too hard to try and complete them afterwards. You're spending way more money on the accessories. So it's, why not just get it mint in a crappy package?
True. True.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So jumping to the next one, we got this Hunter Leo figure. I actually really like this figure. I thought if they made like a vintage version of this, like an OG with all the same looking details, and that
I haven't even seen that one.
Yeah, no, they've got
I think you're
actually
going to see more of that though.
Oh, you will.
As far as just like doing different versions of the same turtles, I just focusing on the turtles and doing different costumes. I feel like they're going to keep doing that because it probably makes more money.
Oh shit, yeah. That's just what they're in it for, right? But because they've got obviously this. Next is Super Turtle.
I don't remember that in anything. Is that from a comic reference as well?
No, I don't know what they're referencing there. A lot of these things, but it's everyone's got a different niche, I suppose.
That's true.
I've never been a big fan of the full head band anyway, but it's kind of.
Oh, the over the head.
Even with the Mutant Mayhem doing that too. I was like, it's not a good look.
No, I don't.
Maybe us vintage guys are just purists, but
Then the Masters went and done this with Raph, and I must admit, I kind of find him pretty amazing.
I do like that. In fact, I have a lot of that that new line, the Motu mashed up, and those are great figures, honestly. I mean, just because it's more in the line of custom.
Yeah. The only thing I can complain about those new Masters ones, we got a couple on card now, and the card back is so thin that it's like you go to pick it up, and the weight of the figures just way.
I opened mine. They're too flimsy. I'm not keeping those things in the package, but the Casey Jones is my favorite.
Oh, wow.
Oh, how good is it?
Yeah, the Casey's mad.
All the different accessories. I mean, this is just neat. Like how much stuff they packed in there, and the little hockey stick clips to the side. And
I wish they just make this a movie.
But I actually just scanned this because this is the whole reason I started collecting this line because I thought this thing looks so cool. I'm going to 3D print the legs. I scanned the figure, and now I can make some legs from the vintage metalhead scan and then just mirror the arm. But the metal Bodo, that's like the reason I started collecting this line. I was like, that's such a cool looking figure.
Yeah, it's wicked.
It's interesting.
In the States, everything's. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say I don't collect Motu, but some of my favorite figures in the Turtles of Grayskull line are the Motu characters given like the mutagen treatment or translucent and like I don't know if you've seen like the Ram Man and maybe the Merman.
So the Ram Man they have, the Merman I have, but the Ram Man they have two different versions. They have a translucent version, or they have the solid color. I think at Walmart you'll find the translucent one, and at Target you'll find the solid. I don't know what the difference is with distribution, but those have been pretty much on the shelves from the beginning. As far as like some of the like newer ones like Casey Jones, you'd have to really be hunting a lot to find it. Like I check Target. If there's a Target, maybe I just keep checking it and keep checking it. Finally, or if you find an employee that would look it up for you, if you had like the DCPI number for Target, you can get them to go in the back and look for it for you. And that's like the only way you find stuff nowadays. It's getting harder and harder to, even in the States. I mean, we have good distribution, but there's still hard to find stuff.
So many collectors.
Yeah. True.
Does make it hard.
Yeah, let me see if I can find the Merman here.
Yeah, that
I can't even get inside my door. It's packed shut. I put too much stuff in there.
You're all right. Happens to all of us.
This one was hard to find.
Yeah, he looks mad
everywhere for this.
Yeah, the Merman's unbelievable.
So you're not pre-ordering; you're just hunting.
No, for Target they allowed you to pre-order like the Splinter. I think I pre-ordered the Splinter, because he was more parts of that metalhead. Target would let you do a pre-order, but Walmart, I never saw any pre-orders. Just had to get lucky.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
Very cool.
We have that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Like you can buy from our, like, I guess you'd say Walmart, Big W, but it'll just say you'll get whatever random figure is on the shelf. So if you
online order,
you mean like a pickup? You mean like a pickup order?
well, you get it delivered. Like you'll just say, I want these Motu turtle crossover ones, and you'll say I want 4 of them. But it'll just be whatever's there. So you could just end up with the same 4 turtles in the box.
That's messed up.
And you're like, oh. Which forces you to then go to the store, which they're never there anyway. So,
yeah, Merman's very expensive in that O2 line for us Aussies. Like my missus was
that
just
one
looking
specifically. So like I said, I probably go to Target more than anyone physically should. But this one, I think I stumbled upon it 2 or 3 times, and I remember I picked one up for a friend in Texas and mailed it to him. But you literally had to just be like constantly looking because this one was. There's still people in the American group still looking for this one. And then what was the other one? Moss Man. That one was hard to find too. But I can still see that one on some shelves. If you go to if you hit up, I don't know, 4 different Walmarts in the New Orleans area, you might still find one at those.
that was the word I was looking for, Johnny. Assorted. You're just getting assorted bunch of figures.
That's kind of messed up.
Yeah.
We'll jump on to the
the
final.
glow in the dark.
So yeah,
Wow.
this one's definitely cool.
I like that.
Scumbag.
They just glow in the dark everything.
Yeah. I wonder if the bugs are glow in the dark, the green bugs. They can do it.
They look like it easy.
But then it kind of be, if the whole figure's glowing, I reckon it'd be better if they're not glow in the dark. So if you do put it over his ribs and stuff, you could make them out in the dark.
You guys,
Definitely.
That's another thing. I was going to say that's another thing you see Super 7 and all these guys doing right now during, I guess, tighter economic times is just reusing their molds to do glow in the dark or a different color variant. But I think that thing honestly looks really cool. I mean,
it does
glow in the dark figures. I mean,
and
like
the eyes
Crusaders, anything like that. Yeah, it looks pretty sick.
The eyes on the other head's pretty cool.
Looks you get a lot of like exclusives over there, Dave, where it's like either Walmart or Target or here. Like, is it really that segregated that you have to go to those particular outlets to get that exclusive?
Yes, they design it that way. I don't know why, but Target will do their own exclusive. In fact, the most current reissues of Playmates, the Mutagen Man, the Rat King, Slash, Casey Jones. I found those at Target, but that's the only place you could find those right now.
Wow.
And I think that Donatello, this one, this one I just found. The toilet taxi with the new Donatello that it came with. That was this was still hard to find right now for most people. I just picked one up for another friend that I found, but I said like this one doesn't stay on shelves long right now.
Yeah. Is that a modern articulation, that Donnie? Do you know?
Yeah, this, as far as I can tell, is just the classic '88 Donatello with a new head sculpt, and they painted his hands like a blue color to be like the gloves, but it's just an '88 Donatello body with a new head sculpt. It almost looks like Make My Day Leo from the vintage line, but I don't think it is. Somebody was saying it's a completely new head sculpt. So this is almost like an extension of the vintage line.
It's so curious that they made that figure. Like it's not a figure that was in any like sketchbooks and that. It's like.
So somebody said that this was originally supposed to be like this, like that Playmates was originally going to release it with a figure, but they never did. And so they must have had these sketches. They must have already had these sketches like this and decided to do it. But yeah, somebody,
any of those
was it Turtle Tracks podcast did like a full episode with some Playmates executives talking about what's to come. And they talked about this specific one. They talked about the Technodrome being re-released. Have you guys ordered that on Amazon? Do you have that available to you?
No. Both the boys have the vintage one.
We got vintage.
I was
seen the new one released on Amazon?
Yeah,
we have it on Amazon.
Yeah, we can.
Oh, you guys already own the vintage one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. Scotty and I have the vintage one complete. So
Well, that's better.
No need.
I wish I had my vintage one still.
Hey, Ollie.
How you going, Ollie?
Hey, Ollie.
But yeah, no, I was contemplating on ordering it because it wasn't a bad price compared to what the vintage one. A vintage one in Australia will knock you back about $700 AUD now.
Oh my gosh,
maybe even more.
Aussie dollars.
Yeah, so
about 300 in the US, I think, for the complete one. 350 maybe for a complete vintage one, but that might go up now that they're not making it the same.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. At least it's different scaling, and that way, obviously, the vintage guys will feel like theirs is superior. Which it is.
Which I do like. Like they made the scale smaller, so it stops from parts getting reused in the vintage one. But they've also then adapted some of the things the vintage one had problems with, like the trapdoor's got a little handle on it now, something like that, and they've changed.
Yeah, it looked like some improvements. What's his name? Again, Ethan Valongas in second time around comics. He actually provided the box art for it, and he had one that was graded, and he scanned it, and they sent him one of the first prototypes, and he was the first one to show all the pictures and videos online. Over in, I think he's in Las Vegas, but he's got some vintage toys and an online store, and he has the very first prototype that I know of.
That's cool. That is definitely cool. But yeah, it's definitely fairly priced, but I find the new Technodrome.
I was wondering what you were just saying too about that with the vintage Technodrome. It's like they probably did do it to appease some collectors. Maybe there was some thought into that, or just production cost saving, which I don't know. It seemed like it'd be a lot of work, because I've heard the Playmates guys talk about partly reusing some of the molds from the vintage stuff. Like they'll repair old molds a lot of the times, or change your date stamp or whatever on the foot or the shell, and they'll try and reuse a lot of the old tooling, or partially reuse tooling. It's what they said in one of the interviews. So I was shocked they decided to do all new tooling.
Kind of goes both ways. Like that toilet taxi, I believe the vehicle's bigger than the vintage one. So
it is.
There's not really a saving of tooling there. It's like,
they're bigger.
And then the retro figures they're bringing out, where they make the weapons different colors. Occasionally, or they take away things like a mutagen man doesn't have his little tiny gut pieces. So
no, I think he does. Hang on.
The Reaper.
They did do a release. They did do a release before that. They did do a release back in like 2012 that didn't have the gut pieces, but this is the newest re-release. He does have the gut pieces.
Yeah, not on. Yeah, they're just loose.
Not on sprue.
Yeah, no, that's not the same.
Oh, not on a sprue.
Yeah, no, mine doesn't have them.
Was it 2012 or I don't know when another release was? There was another re-release where they didn't include the little gut.
Would have been 2018, 2019, maybe later.
Yeah.
So I don't know what Playmate's thinking, because like the Technodrome is smaller, so you could say they're saving on tooling, but then you got things like the toilet taxi, you get an extra figure and a bigger vehicle, so there's no cost saving for them in that retrospect. So who knows?
So maybe it's more for the collectors than to not piss off the collectors. I don't know. Who knows? I guess that'd be a question for one of those executives in those. I wish I would have known Brian was interviewing them with the Turtle Tracks podcast. I would have asked some questions beforehand. But I have heard rumors we're going to get Scratch and Hotspot.
Oh, come on!
Have
you guys seen that?
Yeah, they'll keep them. They'll keep them for a bit. Get some more out.
Well, according to that Playmates interview with those executives that I listened to, they said not anytime soon. But then you see other people saying we've got sources that say it's coming and this and that, and even the Undercover Turtles I've heard that they might redo. And I was like, well, if they did Undercover Turtles, that's going to probably really upset some people, because some people have dropped probably, all together, if they bought them all MOC, probably $3-4 grand a piece.
Yeah,
but it's still that. There's still that difference, and the biggest one I find is touch. As soon as I touch anything new, it's rubbery, bendy. Yeah, it's light. Yeah, you know straight away.
But the thing is, Deano, like,
the difference.
You're experienced enough to be able to discern that difference. Like, I actually think the way they approach the Technodrome is awesome, because, like, on one side, they're improving flaws in the original. So they're adding value, but on the other side, they're sort of taking steps to make sure that unscrupulous people don't like just buy re-releases and sell parts just break them down to parts and sell accessories as vintage and just try to rip people off. So I kind of like the idea of them being slightly different but potentially improved. You know what I mean when it comes to the re-releases.
Yeah, I could imagine the handcuffs for the Technodrome, the new one, being sold off so easily as vintage without people knowing.
Yeah,
I wonder if they keep the number because each of the handcuffs are 1 to 4. So I wonder if they did keep that number on there.
My Technodrome was complete until you told me about that, Deano. Now it's in the back of my mind. I'm like, oh.
All right, so we'll pull up this last photo from SDCC.
Just a very quick question from Ollie. Ollie just wants to know if the re-released Mutagen Man has the tube from the head.
Yes, I think he does. You talking about the purple tube?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I think I can't get mine, but yeah, I think the later model had it as well.
One difference that you definitely do not like is probably his eyes on this one, the Rat King.
Oh yeah.
They didn't do the red in the eyes. They butchered his eyes. They should have done the red. That must have been cost saving to not do the red.
It's so freaky looking. It gives you that.
I love the vintage Rat King's eyes.
Yeah, the vintage is much better.
Like, we've still got the what are they? The sewer sports hanging on hooks. We don't get these new ones on hooks.
No, we don't.
We're going to buy them online in packs to get them.
Yeah, very limited. Yeah, so this is probably my favorite from the SDCs. Is this party wagon, or the pizza wagon, pizza party wagon?
Cool.
How good is that?
Pretty cool.
The price not so good, but definitely cool.
Does look awesome.
That's 450 pizza points, isn't it?
Yeah, that's 800 for us, Dean.
Yeah, I know.
I priced it.
I remember when I saw the price of the Super 7 when originally I was like, nope, not happening.
Yeah, we've already got one in cart, so too bad.
That's a lot of pizzas.
Yeah, a lot of pizza points. But but look, my wife wants it, so maybe I might get one. Who knows? Yeah, they're definitely cool. Definitely cool with us. Yeah,
ask a friend in the USA, perhaps. Somebody said in the chat.
Yeah.
I said I'm usually willing to ship stuff to people, but isn't the shipping cost to Australia like exorbitant
shipping
coming from the US?
Insanity.
Yeah.
I'll pick up stuff for people and ship it to them at cost at retail. I mean, it doesn't. I've done that for other friends overseas.
Unless you ship a shitload.
Yeah, exactly.
Ship a shitload, then it's all right.
Order a pallet on a boat.
Yeah.
Definitely cool.
Wait the 7 weeks for customs.
All right, so we've done over 2 hours here.
Yeah.
Definitely
flown by.
It's been good, but it's been good.
It's been awesome.
It's been good. So yeah, I've got one.
Yeah, good talking to you guys.
No, it's been a pleasure, mate. Thanks for joining us. It's been a blast chatting with you.
I think Dan's got one more thing. He had something.
Yeah, so I got one final clip just to show. I think it's basically a lot of your work put into one clip here, and I know you've done more, but we'll show it off, and then we'll probably start heading. But obviously, the A start.
Yeah, Leatherhead. Oh, I haven't finished the giant storage.
Oh, the undercover.
Oh,
yeah. That's the invisible Mikey I'm working on. There's the chameleon I'm showing you.
Yeah. Oh, there he is.
That Toxie is sick.
Art show, the little Furby. That's that David Orchowski. There's a giant version of the Bart Simpson. Yep, the undercover I like doing. That was one of my favorites.
Yeah, definitely cool.
Awesome, man.
That's sick. Well, I want
to guys for having me.
Yeah, you opened my eyes to the world of 3D printing and all that. I know Dan does a bit, but I also want to say thanks to Dan just for organizing and setting this up.
Absolutely.
Well, if it wasn't for that 3D scanner, that was
putting together all those nice clips.
So good, man. That was funny when you said that 3D scanner that you've got it as like a promotional thing to help promote the brand out. That's actually how we got started talking. I seen him 3D scanning something. I went, man, what brand is that? Because the scans are impeccable.
Okay, let me see if I can show you. I'm about to move my computer here. I don't know if I can do that. The cords are too much. Let me unplug that. Oh wait, here we go.
Sorry,
that's the scanner. That turntable turns, and this little camera piece right here is what shoots down and does it. This is a Shining 3D eye scan. Like I said, I'm not getting paid, but they did let me borrow a scanner to talk and say nice things about it. But this is the one I always wanted. My buddy in Kentucky has this one. Another friend in Iowa has the same one, and it's probably the best quality you're going to find without spending thousands of dollars. I think it's $1,200 for that scanner. But I have heard Revo Point makes a decent one. A Revo Point Mini 2 is pretty good. I've heard that's about $800. But yeah, it's not cheap. Definitely not just a hobbyist type. Like I said, I've just been scanning every damn thing I own because I was like, well, if I ever want to make stuff later. But another thing I really want to start doing is like reproduction weapons for people. Like my friend and I, we already did like the foot cruiser windshield. We did the Krang Android body door and reproduction stuff. We try to just offer it a lot cheaper for people who are trying to restore their figures. Which honestly, I'm not making loads of money off that stuff. It's just to help other collectors.
Nice. Cool, man.
That's awesome, man.
Awesome.
It's been a really cool chat, dude.
Yeah.
It's been a blast. Dude, we appreciate you waking up early for us and hanging out with us for a couple of hours.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I had coffee, so I lived.
Nice.
Yeah, sorry for going a bit longer than we said too. I guess we get talking.
Yeah.
It's
no problem. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Just flies by.
Very nice to meet you guys. This looks like an awesome show y'all do. I'll definitely be tuning in the future.
Oh, I appreciate that, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And everyone.
Well, thanks to everybody who's been hanging out with us for the past couple of hours, man. You guys make it far more fun than it would be without you. Contributing to the chat, and it's been an absolute pleasure. So we'll be back sometime in probably the early part of September, back on our usual Monday evening time slot. But until then, hope everybody has an awesome weekend, and thanks again for hanging out, and we'll see you next time. Catch us later.
Thank you, everyone.